Start popping.
Diving. He makes the catch.
And bats start cracking.
It is gone.
We bring you the voice of Bay Area baseball for the past 29 years.
As I always say, baseball reflects what life is all about.
This is Talkin' Baseball with Marty Laurie.
That's what we do. We talk ball.
On KNBR, the sports leader.
And good morning, everybody. It's great to have you back with us on this Sunday morning as we get ready for Giants baseball. I hope everything is well wherever you are and the weather is good as the Giants try to sweep the Rockies. They win a doubleheader yesterday against the hapless Colorado Rockies. Boy, you take Colorado out of Denver, and boy, it is a different team. They played awful baseball, and they've played awful baseball for all three games. And they've allowed the Giants to get back into this race and feel good about themselves. The Giants now 52-55 with the sweep yesterday, and they go for the sweep of the series today with Jordan Hicks probably making his last start as a starter for this year for the Giants, I would imagine, going for the Giants. At least that's what's listed today. And he goes against a left-hander, Austin Gomber, who's one of the better pitchers for Colorado. But, boy, Colorado does not hit, and we'll talk about that. But for Gomber going today, he is sort of a little bit of a home run machine. And when I looked at the numbers today, I said, wow, he has pitched 105 innings, and he's given up 19 home runs. And the Giants do hit home runs, especially their shortstop, Tyler Fitzgerald, who hit number 9 yesterday in the second game. But 19 homers for Gomber in 105 innings for him with 111 hits. So the righties should be swinging that bat today. They've got 13 home runs against Gomber. So that's what the Giants will face today with Jordan Hicks. We do our contest today for dinner for two at Original Joe's. All you have to do is enter it at Baseball Marty on Twitter, and Raph breaks all the ties, and he gets the score of today's game. And then he comes up with a lucky participant, and we have hundreds who participate in the contest for dinner for two at Soto Mare, which is always a lot of fun at 552 Green Street in North Beach with Richie and Laura Azzolino. So Raph does that today. And next week, as I said, I'm taking a weekend off. How about that? I haven't done much of that in the 29 years I've been doing these shows, but I'm convinced take a weekend off. So Glenn Kyper and Sandra G will do the show next Sunday. So we won't have a contest next Sunday. I'm letting everyone know that now because I won't be here. So we'll have two winners today, Raph, on our contest today. We'll have two winners for Soto Mare and two winners for dinner for two at Original Joe's as well. Boy, these dinners are fabulous. People are having a good time. So I'm sure that you want to participate at Baseball Marty on Twitter. But two winners today because we're not going to have a contest next Sunday, but Glenn and Sandra G will take care of the show next week. All right, so yesterday, what are we going to do with Blake Snell? It's a good question. John Shea was all over it today in the Chronicle, and Bruce Jenkins alluded to it yesterday. For me, Blake Snell yesterday really showed the market what he can do. He's an odd duck. He's a little bit different. He sort of plays more for himself, I think, than saying, boy, I love San Francisco. I can't wait to make my next start for San Francisco. He's more of, and it's okay. He is a guy who goes out and he wants to win games, and he'll play wherever he's going to get paid. And yesterday, against the Colorado Rockies, he went out there and struck out 15. And the Rockies with 30 swings and misses. It's really incredible how badly the Rockies play out of Colorado. And Bam Bam is the hitting coach there, and they come out of Colorado and they just can't do anything in Colorado. They can beat anybody. They scored 20 runs against the Red Sox. But for Snell, 30 swings and misses, which is just incredible when you think about it. It's one of the best of the year. But the 15 strikeouts in 6 innings, for him, he was one off the all-time franchise record of 16, set by Christy Mathewson way back in 1904 or 5. And Jason Schmidt, I remember when he did this, struck out 16 for the Giants. But 15 in 6 innings, just think about what that means for a second. In 6 innings, you get 18 outs. Well, he struck out 15 of them. And the only ones to have done that in 6 innings, 15 strikeouts, and you got to look at Randy Johnson, David Cohn, and Roger Clemens. But the 15 strikeouts ties Lincecum, and Lincecum did it. Remember, he did it against Atlanta. And Woe and I will talk about this. I thought it was the best game I ever saw Lincecum pitch. He had 30 swings and misses or something like that for Atlanta, but 15 strikeouts in that division series game. And then Gaylord Perry did it, and Carl Hubbell, the meal ticket, the great Carl Hubbell. And we should always remember Mel Ott and Carl Hubbell. They were fabulous players, Hall of Famers. We don't talk about them enough. It's okay. They were New York Giants and many years ago. But let me tell you something. Mel Ott, Carl Hubbell, they were tremendous baseball players, and that's the history of the franchise here. So Snell wins the game yesterday, 4-1. Ryan Walker comes in the 7th inning, and I said he's had trouble with the lefties. And this Tolia, who strikes out all the time, but he's got legitimate power. And in this park, if you're a lefty and you can hit some line drives, we've seen it before, he hit one up on that tin roof and tied the game up in the 7th. But then the Rockies do what the Rockies do best, and that is they kick the game away. Shortstop bobbles a ball, throws it to first. The first baseman doesn't. It sounds like the Mets of 1962. This first baseman can't catch it. It's right in his glove, and he can't catch it. Goes in the dugout. Runners on second. They wild pitch him the third. And the next thing you know, Bailey is up with 2 out, and he's got second and third. And Buddy Black lets him hit left-handed, and he's got that fellow Meeks ready in the Beeks in the bullpen, Beeks. And he could turn Bailey around to be a right-handed hitter, which he has struggled with. And true, Fitzgerald is on deck, but there's 2 out. And he lets Bailey hit left-handed. He gets a pitch over the plate, and he's done this a million times. It's the best part of his game. He just hits a line drive into left, a couple of runs score. Giants add on a couple more, and they win the first game 4-1 over the Rockies yesterday. So that was a good game for the Giants. For the Giants, and it gets better in the second game. Let's face it. They're 25-5 against the Rockies in San Francisco. They've won 10 straight. They're 10-11 in July. They're 4-5 since the break, and blah blah blah, and all that kind of stuff going on. So they got the first game done. The concert happens, and now it's the second game, and Hayden Birdsong gets the ball in this one, and the Rockies once again just hapless against Birdsong. He throws a lot of pitches though, and he's gone after 5, but only 3 hits. 3 walks, and that's it for him. The Giants win at 5-0. They get Soler, gets a couple of doubles. Jastrzemski, another triple, number 8 for him. The Giants win their 11th straight against Colorado here in San Francisco. They're now 9-3 on the year, and the last one is today, the 13th game. They've gone 26-5 in the last 31. And since the break, they're now 5-5, so they're getting better. And in July, they have a shot here at least to get to 500 before the end of the month, before the A's come in Tuesday and Wednesday. So it all works out. Yesterday, Birdsong goes and gets win number 3. The Giants get another 13 strikeouts, 30 strikeouts in the doubleheader, 1 off a major league record. It's incredible. How Colorado just swings and misses all the time, and we'll see what they do today with Hicks. But the Giant bullpen yesterday was just terrific. 4 innings, a hit, no runs, no walks, 5 strikeouts. That was in the second game, and they saved it for Birdsong, and he goes to 3-0. Well, with all that, a lot happened in baseball yesterday, and this is why we have to talk about Snell. Snell yesterday showed to me that he is the best pitcher that is on the market right now. And I said it yesterday, I would trade Snell. I think he's going to opt out anyway. I think he's going to be gone. This is Rodon. This is Bumgarner. They saved both of those guys. It didn't work out, and then they left. I would get something for him now. I think you actually have leverage. And he's better than Jack Flaherty. He's better than Eric Fetty and people like that's what they're talking about now. Skubal probably is not going to be traded. Crochet's probably not going to be traded. If he is, he's got all sorts of contract issues that go with him. Snell is clean. You know what you're getting for the rest of this year. You're going to get 10 starts, and he can win a pennant for you. And you're going to get starts in October from him as well. He's healthy. He's pitching great. And you probably can get a couple of players back. And if it's a couple of outfielders or if it's a pit, well, they don't really need starting pitching. They've got enough starting pitching. So the issue is it's not a white flag. It's not throwing in the towel. They're 4.5 games back. The chances of getting a wild card spot are still there, and they're still just as good without Snell as with Snell, I think. And that means that Cobb is coming back. Robbie Ray is here. Harrison is here. Birdsong is here. Webb is here. And you still have Hicks who could go to the bullpen. So you still have pitching here. And I think it's enough pitching to keep you in the race. And I'll say it again, they're 4.5 out of the wild card. Atlanta won yesterday. So my point is you can win without Snell. I would move Snell, and I would try to get an outfielder who can step into this team either next year or right now. And I would try to get a second player, too. And I think you can get 3 players. You may not get the best prospects, but you could get prospect number 3, 8, and 12. I think you can do that. We've seen what Jazz Chisholm brought to the New York Yankees and what they gave up to the Marlins. We've seen what Estevez to the Phillies as a closer, which they need desperately, and what the Angels got back. They got 2 good pitchers back, and I think the Giants can cash in here. So I would do it. I would move Snell. I really would. And I would send Conforto out as well. They need an athletic left fielder. If it's moving Ramos to left and getting that center fielder for this part of the season because Lee is coming back, I would do that. The Mets don't want Conforto now. They got Jesse Winker yesterday, so that's the end of the Mets and Conforto. But the Brewers still need a right fielder, and I would keep Yastrzemski. I think Yastrzemski's playing good ball. I really do. I like him. I think he's playing good ball. I'd keep him, and I try to see if the Mets they're not going to take Conforto, but the Brewers may because they need something for Yelich in the outfield. And Conforto's a winner, and I think you put him on the Brewers. It's a team that probably will win the Central, probably. I think he can help them. So I'd move Conforto. I'd move Snell. And for Luke Jackson, I think you can get something for him, and I think you can have Hicks replace him as the right-hander. Randy Rodriguez will be back, too. In the bullpen with Rogers and Walker. And Duvall, I would hold on to Duvall. I think if you move Snell, you hold on to Duvall. If you don't move Snell, then maybe Duvall can go and get you a couple of people back. But this is a good test for Farhan. This is it. This is what I said yesterday. This is the time of year that the focus goes on the front office. But the Giants are still very much in it. I'll tell you again. Cincinnati, very inconsistent. St. Louis, they're relying on Arenado, Goldschmidt, and a lot of left-handed hitters. Yesterday, they ended up in 2 days against Washington. They walked 16. How about that pitching staff? Crawford had a pitch yesterday. They lost 14-3 to Washington. That's St. Louis. Pittsburgh, they're a great team. I love Derek Shelton. I love Skeens, but I don't think they're ready. So I think those 3 are going to disappear. Arizona is back. They're playing great ball. McCarthy, 5 for 5 yesterday. They beat Pittsburgh, came back down 3-0. They won it 4-3. You've got certainly San Diego, won 7 straight. Profar is doing great. Boy, 304, 392, 495 slash lines for Profar. San Diego's won 7 straight. And you got the Mets losing yesterday, and Senga is out for the year. With that calf pull, he's done for the year. And then you get the Braves, and they've been up and down. Now, the Giants get to play San Diego again. They get to play Arizona again, and they get to play Atlanta again. They play Cincinnati again, and they're going to play St. Louis again. So they can handle things. And as we'll talk about on the show today, this is the way a baseball season goes. So don't look at they better go 34-21. 690 ball, whatever it may be. That's not the way it works. Once you start going down the stretch and you get close, it's day by day. And if you're 2 back, you say, let's win today. And if they lose the other team, now they're 1 back. You take it day by day. So I don't look at that big number picture. Win games. If you win games, you get back into this thing. They are only 4.5 out of the wild card. So with all this going on, I think the move can be made, and I think they still can be competitive. And I think that's the way to go. That's the way I see it here. All right, we've got a good show for you today. As I say, the Giants go for the sweep over the Rockies. They get it done yesterday. A lot of fun at the ballpark. 34,000 out there yesterday. They gave away those cowboy hats. I've already gotten requests from the family, from Bonnie and Greg and Evan and Robin and the girls. And girls are going to Camp Tawanga today. Alana and Stella are going today to Camp Tawanga. So I've already got requests for the cowboy hats, so I got to deal with that. But it was a good day yesterday. The Giants win 2, and they've got a shot to sweep the Rockies today and get ready for the off day tomorrow, and then the A's come in for 2. And then it's Tuesday, the 30th. Then we're going to see what happens. Something is going to happen. I guarantee you that. Something will happen, and it's going to be an interesting 48 hours for Farhan and the front office. All right, the professor right here next, right on the Sports Leader.
Talking baseball with Marty Lurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
Experience the epitome of luxury and craftsmanship with Inicio Windows and Doors, another exciting product line from BMD Manufacturing. Inicio Windows and Doors sets the standard in ultra-premium European design. Wow. For the most demanding American building standards. Available both in steel and aluminum, they are meticulously engineered to elevate your living space to new heights of sophistication. Learn more about Inicio Windows and Doors today. Discover the perfect blend of European beauty and style with unwavering durability and strength. Visit InicioWindows.com. INICIO Windows.com. Inicio Windows and Doors, where European design meets American craftsmanship. Marty Lurie here, reporting from River Islands in Lathrop, Northern California's best-selling master plan community. The breaking news from River Islands is the announcement that Del Webb, the best-known name in active adult living, is coming to River Islands this fall. It's been years since Del Webb has offered a new community in Northern California, and people are already signing up for their interest list. With a September opening in view, Del Webb is building 3 different model complexes for their 9 home designs. All of the homes are single-story, and 2 and 3 bedroom plans will be available. The community will have its own lake and an amenity center with sport courts, a pool, club rooms, and a fitness center. Del Webb will be joining the River Islands roster of fine home builders that are creating all new neighborhoods near the San Joaquin River, alongside a lake or close to parks or trails. You can start your tour now at riverislands.com. Isn't it time for you to discover the islands? This one sure is for me.
Time now to go to Sunday school with the professor.
Hey, Professor, take it easy, will you?
Giants coach Ron Wotus with Marty Lurie.
Oh, I didn't know you wanted to get involved with the discussion, Mr. Helper.
On your home of Giants baseball.
Good answer. I like the way you think.
KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Brought to you by River Islands, one of the country's top-selling master plan communities just across the Altamont in Lathrop. Where else can you live on a lake next door to a park or walking distance to your kid's new school? With 10 new neighborhoods, River Islands is the one place you can't afford to miss.
All right, great to have you back with us as we get ready for Giants baseball. Today we're joined by the professor, Ron Wotus. Whoa, how are you today?
I'm great, Marty. Good morning to you. I hope you're having a good morning.
Yeah, it's been fine so far. How about just weathering the storm yesterday? 2 games back-to-back. How did you do?
Well, you know, I did fine. I'll tell you, it was a long day. I'm not in shape for that grind like I was when I was coaching. You know, you got your guard up and your adrenaline, and it's a little bit different. So watching 2 games is a little bit different than coaching in 2 games, I must add. But the funny thing was this morning, I could tell you when the alarm went off, you know, isn't it funny you go to sleep at night and you have a hard time going to sleep, or you're sleeping, you're up, whatever. But when the alarm goes off in the morning, how come you're always asleep when the alarm goes off? So I could have used a few more minutes in bed.
Well, it's a doubleheader, and it was a natural doubleheader. And boy, let's talk about the Rockies just a little bit. Well, you know, you've been around the game for so long, as long as Colorado has been a major league team. And they come out of Colorado and they come into San Francisco, 30 swings and misses, 30 strikeouts in a doubleheader. What happens to this ball club when they come out of Colorado?
Well, you know, I was just talking to Buddy Black a little bit. I just bumped into him. I'm walking the field, and he was out for a walk as well. But, you know, I was asking him, we all know that it's a very big adjustment for pitchers. You know, the ball doesn't break the same. You know, they have a different feel. The breaking ball is tougher. And then the mental side on a pitcher is, you know, you might give up 3 or 4 runs in the 3rd or 4th inning, and then in the normal park, sometimes you go, oh, shoot, you know, I let my team down. But you got to keep grinding mentally. So it's a physical adjustment and a mental adjustment for the pitchers. You got to keep playing 9 innings because you're never out of the game. Now on the hitting side, it happens as well for me. I know from my own personal experience being in hitters' parks, and when you're playing in Las Vegas in these hitters' parks with the light air, it's much easier to hit. And then you go to a normal ballpark where, you know, you're more at sea level, and it's harder to hit. One, the balls break better on the breaking balls. The sinker sinks more. The ball away, if you put the bad head on it, it doesn't travel as far. So I think it's an adjustment for the position players as well as hitters. It's much easier to hit in Colorado than it is on the road. And those are some things that are highlighted to me on why it is. And Buddy just told me their AAA team is in, I think it's in Albuquerque. So, you know, they have that light air. It's easier to hit there. So they're playing in Albuquerque, and they of course, they play all over. But it is different playing in different ballparks.
Well, it is, and we saw it yesterday. And look, it's 3 games, and all the strikeouts, and Snell with 15 yesterday. You know, he tied that Lincecum game. Remember the one against Atlanta? I always thought that was Lincecum's best game ever in the division series, the 15 strikeouts he got. Remember that one?
Yeah, well, he had a lot of good ones, that's for sure. And he was a prolific strikeout pitcher. That's why he was so dominant. That split change thing he had in his fastball, his fastball moved, a foot, and then you couldn't distinguish between the split change and the fastball, and there was quite a difference in velocity there. So, yeah, he was something special, the freak as we called him, and I miss Timmy. It'd be fun to see him in the game right now, wouldn't it? I love his personality.
Yeah, and he's electric, and all the guys, of all of them, he's the one I think that people want to see come back. So we'll see. But Snell yesterday, 15 strikeouts for him, tied Lincecum, Gaylord Perry, Carl Hubble, and one off of, he's one off of Jason Schmidt. And I remember that 16 strikeout game. Jason Schmidt could bring it, couldn't he?
Yeah, he could. When we got him from Pittsburgh, he was a huge shot in the arm for us. And another guy that I think he had his split finger. He threw a breaking ball, but he had, mid-90s fastball. And the old drop and drive velocity kind of, right? Long and lean. Yeah, he was quite a pitcher for us. And we were very successful with him on the mound. Just like, the Snell's outing yesterday, when you bring a Schmidt, a Lincecum, a Snell to the mound, it's win day. And you don't expect the other team to score a lot of runs. You think back to, our heyday. If we scored over 3 runs or more, we felt like we were going to win the game. And that's what good starting pitching can do for you.
Yeah, it does, and the Giants have it. Well, what about Fitzgerald? And I gave you credit this week. You've been talking about Tyler Fitzgerald from last year when you saw him in Sacramento, and you were a good advocate for him this year to get more playing time. And what can you say? I mean, 8 homers in 10 games and 14 for his last 32. What can you say about Tyler Fitzgerald?
Well, he's hot right now, that's for darn sure. And you do see that. Guys do get hot. There's no way he can keep up this pace. But, the talent's there. I mean, I saw it in Sacramento last year, and I saw him play good shortstop for a couple of months. So, I've seen the player enough that I really believe in his tools. If you break him down, he has speed. He has power. He has enough arm to play shortstop. He has good enough hands. And he's a player with tools that, you really don't know, because players can get better. That's the thing. I think sometimes we're so short-sighted, and we evaluate or over-evaluate from short stints of watching people. And if a player has tools, I learned that years ago, getting in the game and talking to the old scouts, if they have the major league tools, you hope that you can, they can get better, and with the right coaching and the right direction and the right desire to be a player, that they can get the most out of their ability. And he has the ability to be a fine major league player.
Yeah, well, he's doing it. And he tied Hack Wilson's record. Hack Wilson, interesting player for the 1924 New York Giants. And he ended up going to the Cubs and hitting 56 home runs, which was a National League record for so many years, 190 RBIs. And he tied Hack Wilson's record. Hack Wilson was a rookie with the Giants in 1924, and he always had an issue. In those days, the world was different, he was different, and he drank a lot. And he ended up being traded to the Cubs and then to another team, maybe the Dodgers. And he was playing right field in the old Baker Bowl, which had a tin right field wall. And Hack had a rough night the night before, and he was kind of hung over a little bit in right field. And the pitcher for the Dodgers was called Boom Boom Beck. And they called him Boom Boom Beck because he got hit pretty good. So Casey Stengel came out to take him out of the game. He didn't want to go, and he turned around and fired the ball to the right field wall and hit the tin wall. And Hack Wilson thought the ball was in play and played it and threw it into second base, and that was Hack Wilson. How about that?
How about that story, Marty? Only you can find these stories. Do you think they have any video of that episode? Because I would love to see that if they had it. That's a great story.
Yeah, Hack thought the ball was in play. So, but Fitzgerald tied his record, and I'm thrilled for the kid. This time of year, and I got into it in the open, and I probably went on a little bit too long, but baseball still has 2 months to go, and you're 4 games out of a wild card berth. There are a lot of teams ahead of you, but these last 2 months, it's not football. It's not a 17-game schedule. It's not a 7-game playoff schedule. It's 162, and now that gets interesting, and the Giants are still very much close into it.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's harder. We have several teams to climb, and, we really don't control our own destiny as much as we'd like to because, you have so many teams to climb over and you don't know how they're going to play, so you need a little bit of the help. But having said that, we still are in control because of the starting pitching that we have, and if we can get on the run, obviously these last 3 games have been great, because this can turn around quickly. That's the one thing I do know with the starting pitching we have. And, I think that it's hard because as a coach, as a player, even as a fan, I don't think anybody in the sport wants to give up on a season and not go for it with so many games. I mean, this is what we do. It's, it's our livelihood, and, we want to finish the job. We have 6 months invested in this thing like everybody does, but it's a difficult decision, for the front office. I'm sure they're, kicking the tires on everything on a possible way to make this club better for now and for the future. So I know on the field and being a coach, it's in my DNA to want to push forward. I believe in the players that we have on the field. So, but you got to go out and you have to perform. And we haven't had that streak yet. I hope we have it in us now. And you think to the years past, we played our best baseball going down the stretch.
Yeah, and going down the stretch, it's day by day. It's not that we have to win 18 of 20. You just have to win that day, and the Giants showed that in 10, 12, and 14, and even 16 in the first part of that season. So I say there's still a lot of baseball left to be played. How good was Snell yesterday? Well, I think they have the ultimate chip in this trade market, and I look at what's left out there. Snell yesterday, and you've seen him for years. How good was he yesterday?
Well, he was as good as it gets. I mean, the strikeouts, his location was outstanding. He was throwing all 3 of his pitches over the plate, and he's fresh because he hasn't been through the grind of the season. So this is what this guy can do, and this is who he is, and this is what the Giants expected when Farhan went out and got him. So he was outstanding. And to your point, obviously, he's a game changer for teams. Anybody going into the playoffs, whether it's us or somebody else, this is the type of pitcher you want going into the playoffs because this type of guy can win you a World Series.
Yeah, he can win a pennant. I'll tell you that for Houston, Baltimore, even the Yankees. And look, the Phillies are making trades. Everyone is doing something to improve the club. I would expect the Giants are going to do something here to improve the club. I'm looking forward to Tuesday, I will tell you that. The Cardinals yesterday ended up losing to the Nationals. But the point I want to make was the pitcher who pitched the 9th inning, they got beat 14-3. In the 9th inning, they brought in Brandon Crawford to pitch the 9th inning. How about that?
Oh, well, he wanted to be in that game, that's for sure. I mean, Brandon always wanted to pitch. And he was always asking to be the guy to go on the mound. And, of course, we never wanted him out there. My God, we couldn't lose our shortstop, throwing a breaking ball out there. But, him and Brandon Belt, they used to practice their pitching all the time on the side. I used to get frustrated with them. They're throwing breaking balls to each other. They're squatting down. That's how they got loose. And I always used to tell Brandon, hey, Brandon, take it easy on them. You only got so many throws in that arm. When you get older, you're going to realize, you don't want to have that arm injury because take care of that bad boy. But they had a lot of fun with it. And how did he do? Did he have a clean inning?
Not exactly. One inning, 3 hits, 4 runs, 2 walks, and he threw 35 pitches and 14 strikes. So that was that.
Well,
he needed Belt on the other side probably to catch him.
I might have to give him a call, Marty, and tell him maybe he threw his arm out over here with Belt. So I got to needle him a little bit.
All right. Bob Melvin got kicked out of a game last weekend. Very frustrating, and the road trip was frustrating for him, I'm sure, with Colorado and the Dodgers. But he got kicked out before the game started when he brought the lineup card out. How about that?
Well, I've seen people come close over the years with that. I mean, look, when you have the same crew and there's been a lot of bad calls or controversial calls that may have cost you the game before, you come back the next day. Sometimes it's hard just to wash that off and forget about it. And obviously there was some things lingering there, and who knows, Bob's a cagey vet. He may wanted to make a statement with his club. I think, when they have respect for when the players have respect for the manager like they do Bob, anytime your manager is fighting for you, it does motivate the players. And, that's a key in this game, is getting up for the game, whether you're a coach or a player, every day to be motivated. So there may have been a little bit more behind the scenes on why that happened. And, of course, the club responded, and Ryan Christensen came back with the win.
Yeah, and Birdsong pitched a great game against Colorado last weekend, and he did it again yesterday, too. Hey, did that ever happen to you? Did you ever get kicked out before a game started?
Well, I've come close. I'll share this with you. Years ago when Dave Roberts was with the Dodgers, every time he would bunt, a base hit bunt, he would step on home plate with his left foot. And we played the Dodgers a lot back then, It's not like the schedule now. I don't know, 16 or 20 times we used to play them. And anyways, I'd always tell the umpires, hey, he's stepping on home plate. Look for it. And they never did. And they never called him out. He's supposed to be out. So I went in the video room, and I had our video department. They got a photograph of Dave Roberts with his foot right in the middle of home plate, the ball coming off his bat, putting the bunt down. Well, it probably wasn't the right thing to do, but I sent it to the video room. I had enough. Not the video room. I sent it to the umpires room. So I told Brandon Evans, I said, you give this to the umpires. And he did. So I had to bring out the lineup card that night. And when I did, I'll just say this. It got pretty heated because the umpires weren't too happy that I sent them the picture of Dave Roberts stepping on home plate. I didn't get thrown out. But I came awfully close, and I know they all wanted to throw me out, too, as well.
Good. All right. I liked it from Melvin. He came out hot, I'll tell you that. It didn't take long to ignite him last Sunday. And, it was fun. I like seeing it. Well,
Marty,
River Islands.
Let me add this real quick. Colorado has that. I mean, every time we went in with Boch always got thrown out in Colorado. It's a house of horrors, right? You're never out of the game. Strange stuff happens. I've seen more people get thrown out in Colorado than any of their ballpark. I just wanted to add that.
Oh, come on. I love it. And it's what baseball is all about. During the course of a season, it's 162. It's not hockey. It's not the NFL. And people have to understand that. This 162, I know everyone's excited about the 49ers and Brock Purdy and blah, 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 and all this stuff. But there's still a lot of baseball left to be played. I want to mention River Islands just quickly to you. The whole Del Webb thing, the adult community within River Islands, I just think it's a big deal, and it really diversifies what's out there at River Islands. Yeah, it does. We know all the amenities they have, and in the schools that they have a lot for the younger people, but to add a community like this gives a whole new demographic to the area on who may go out there to look for a home. So I thought it was a great idea to put this in. And Del Webb's, they do things right. So it's great for River Islands, and they just continue to make good decisions after decisions. I think they're one of the top growing communities in California, if I'm not mistaken. So if you haven't checked it out, you need to get out there and take a look. All right. Well, have a good day, and think about Hack Wilson if the ball goes off the right field wall. Yes,
I hope that doesn't happen to anybody here, that we've mistaken the ball in play that's not in play. I don't want to see that now. But thanks for the story, Marty.
All right. Have a good day. Talk to you in a couple of weeks. I'm off next week. You'll talk to Glenn Kyper next week. Thanks, Will.
Okay. Have a great couple of weeks.
All right. More coming up. Glenn Kyper next, right here on the Sports Leader.
Talking baseball with Marty Lurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
Bridge Bank delivers their clients full relationship banking, including treasury management solutions and global market services. Bridge Bank offers financing solutions to businesses for their working capital, equipment, and real estate needs. This is very important in today's world. Fred Voss is the Senior Managing Director of Bridge Bank's commercial lending efforts in Northern California. He has commercial banking teams in San Jose with Jesse Garcia, San Francisco, Oakland, Cheadle Cordova, and in Pleasanton. Bridge Bank, it's like banking at home. I can't say enough about it.
Prepping you for today's orange and black ball game, we now take you back to Talking Baseball with Marty Laurie on KNBR, the sports leader.
All right, great to have you back with us as we live stream this morning as well. A couple of people I want to shout out to. One, Gary Mintz of the New York Giants Preservation Society, listening to us in New York, and does a great program every Thursday, so you want to check that out. And Chris Woods, our good friend from Sacramento, coming down to the game with the whole family today to see if the Giants can sweep the Rockies. And we bring in our dear friend, Glenn Kyper. Glenn, how are you this morning?
I'm good, Marty. How are you?
Well, pretty good. I've survived yesterday. It was a long day for the doubleheader. But, hey, the Rockies are in town, and the Giants really dominated them. And does it move the needle for you in this whole pennant race?
Yeah. I mean, it does. It does. I mean, you try to stay optimistic. It's still a long haul, but, you and I have also said we both think there's a winning streak in this team. There has to be if they want to have any shot, for a wild card spot. And maybe this is it. I mean, it's at 3 right now, and you have to win today. I mean, that's the thing, Marty, is they're 3 games under 500, and you win today, you get a day off, well deserved, and then you have the A's come in. You have a chance by Thursday to get to 500, and then I think you probably got some action if you can get yourself to 500, because there's still enough games left to be played, and the hole is still big, but they needed to do what they've done so far this weekend, and they have, and they've looked good doing it. But you have to finish it off today. I mean, it's hard to do. You're talking about sweeping a big league team in a 4-game series, but I just don't think they have a choice. I think they absolutely have to win today.
Well, and they've got some guys who are starting to swing the bat, and the pitching has always sort of been there, and it's getting better. But Soler, Glenn, look at how many walks he had against the Dodgers. The guy must have walked 8 or 10 times. And he's got a couple of doubles, and as I say, when he hits it, you don't have to listen to the commentator. His body language will tell you whether it's gone. And Chapman, who and you've said it all along, is a streak player, is on a streak again. And then you get Fitzgerald, who's, doing Babe Ruth things and Barry Bonds things.
Well, the Fitzgerald thing is fun. I mean, you got to give this kid a lot of credit. There's a lot of talent there, Marty, and I know the Giants have felt that all along. And if you look kind of back, Marty, I think one thing that stands out to me with Fitzgerald is he was able to kind of go through the minor league system at a normal rate, right? Where he didn't have a lot of injuries. He was getting to play every day. And if you look back at the last 3 years, Marty, 2021, a full season in Single A. 2022, a full season in Double A. 2023, a full season between Double A and Triple A, where he played in over 100 games, and that's really important to development of these kids in the minor leagues, where they're playing a lot, they're playing a full season, they're not dealing with injuries. And he was able to have that the last 3 years, and he showed power, he showed speed. I mean, last year he had 22 homers and 32 steals in the minor leagues. That's pretty darn good at the high level. So I think the fact that he was able to develop in the minor leagues, get plenty of at-bats in the minor league, maybe he's more ready to play at the big league level than some other guys who are younger and maybe just not getting those valuable at-bats in the minor leagues. I think that's a big thing for him, and why maybe he's ready to play at the big league level because of the time that he had in the minor leagues, and he wasn't sitting on the injured list. That stands out to me when you look at his last 3-4 years of development.
Yeah, good point. He's ready, and he said he's very confident when he's in AAA, and that confidence now is coming up here. But to see what he's done, the 8 homers and 10 games and the doubles and triples and everything else. But what do you think of him as a shortstop, though? Is that the long-term solution here for the Giants with him at short?
Well, you watch. I mean, there's the actions at short are pretty good. It seems. It looks like his throws to first occasionally, are off the mark a little bit. But I think he's looked pretty good at short. There's a lot of athleticism there, and that makes a big difference at that position. But does he look as good as Nick Ahmed did? I mean, to me, I think, yeah. I mean, he moves around well. He's made some nice plays. You think about at the beginning of the year, he looked a little shaky at short, but now that he's playing every day, to me, he looks pretty comfortable. So I haven't seen any significant issues with him defensively at short, and that's a good thing. But I think a lot of it just has to do with he's so athletic, and that is his natural position. So I don't see a problem there, Marty, because this is still a young player. I mean, he's 26, but young in the major leagues. He's not going to go backwards defensively. He's only going to get better. So I don't see a problem there.
Okay, all right. Well, they'll stick with him. What about Snell? Look, Jack Flaherty is on the markets. Tariq Sable is from Detroit, is not going to go. You've got Crochet probably not going to go from the White Sox. If he does, there's all sorts of contract issues with him. What do you do with Blake Snell?
You know what, Marty? I've been thinking a lot about this after what he did yesterday. It's really a fascinating decision for the Giants, because not only is it really a decision about the team, like, hey, you know what, where are we at? Do we have a shot here? But it's also a decision about an individual guy in Snell and what he do. So it's almost twofold. I don't know what they're going to do. It's difficult because he's so good. And if you were to sneak into the postseason, and I know that's a long shot, but boy, you line up what they have now, and hey, you go into Milwaukee as the last wild card team for a 3-game series, Marty, and you can throw Snell, Webb, and Ray, you got a pretty good shot to win that series. I mean, so that's part of the thought process. But then again, you start thinking about what you could get for him, and I think you could get quite a bit now. I really do. I don't know if you saw what the Rays got from the Padres for Jason Adam, who's a real good setup guy who has a couple of years of control, but he's a setup guy, and the Rays just traded him to the Padres, and they got the Padres number 3, number 8, and number 12 prospects.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, and I said the same thing. Yeah.
Right? So there's the other side of the story. It's a fascinating decision for the Giants, and I'm very curious what they're going to do. And even then, Marty, let's say you do trade him, and I'm not saying that's the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do. But if you did trade him, you would still be able to run out a rotation of Webb, Harrison, Ray, Cobb, and Birdsong. That's pretty good still. So, where does that come into play? Is it we could trade him, but we could still continue to make a run at this thing? That's another option. Again, I don't know what the right thing to do is here. I think it's easy to say, oh, come on, they're 3 games under and, blah, 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 blah. But if they were to get into a postseason series, they would have a shot against anybody because of the guys that they could put out there as starters. And I think anybody who has watched what the rotation can do now that they're healthy has to feel the same way if you were to get in. But they do have a long haul to get in. So I don't know, Marty. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be fascinating the next couple of days.
Well, I say trade him. I think he's going to opt out anyway. And
I agree with that, yeah.
And he's going to opt out. So if you could get what you just described, maybe the 2nd, the 6th, and 10th prospect, and fill the outfield spots that you need to fill, maybe a bullpen spot, I would do it, and I think there's still enough pitching to make this competitive. They're going to have to put a team on the field to get them done because the pitching's going to get it done. So my answer is I can say it. I would trade him.
Okay.
And that's where I would go with it. I botched up Skubal's name before, Tariq Skubal from Detroit. It doesn't look like he's going anywhere, but he would be the one for me to compete with Snell. But I would do this with Snell. Hey, the A's are coming in Tuesday and Wednesday. Glenn, they're winning. They've won 10 out of 13. They've got players that you're aware of, and let's talk a little A's baseball here.
Yeah, they have played well. A tough start, but they've had an excellent month of July and kind of breaking out offensively, which is, they're dangerous right now. So the Giants are going to have to be careful with that team. I know they're beating up on the Angels a lot. The A's are, and the Angels aren't very good, but that you beat the team that's sitting in front of you. So it'd be interesting to see. Their lineup. I don't watch them a lot, but I know Rooker's been great. Not everybody, but the teams want him. I don't know if they're going to trade or not, but they are sort of an offensive juggernaut right now, and so it'll be a fun 2-game series, Marty. If you think about how well they're swinging the bats, and now how well the Giants are pitching, and it sounds like, I don't know if you've seen it. It sounds like Robbie Ray on Tuesday night. So that'll be a fun matchup. So I'm looking forward to it. And I'm going to head out there and check out both the games. And it should be fun. It's always fun when they play. I always enjoyed broadcasting the games when the A's and the Giants play.
Yeah, the A's generally don't hit much when they come to San Francisco, and then it turn the tables when they go back to Oakland. So that's been a little bit of a trend.
Yeah, we mentioned that last week, Marty, how the Giants have always done a pretty good job against the A's in San Francisco, but it's been the exact opposite when the Giants go over to the Coliseum. They've had weird things happen over there. So, yeah, we'll see. But it is an interesting team, the A's. We don't know if they're going to make any trades. Who knows if they're hearing it from the top to make trades. We've seen that before, but they are kind of a fun young team who hits the ball out of the ballpark. So I like the matchup of that against the Giants pitching. I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, a lot of home runs. I think they lead majors maybe in home runs in July. They've hit like 40 or something ridiculous in July. But, the Mason Miller broke his pinky, hitting the training table. So we don't see Miller and Duvall. I was kind of looking forward to that. But I thought I'd get your thought on Duvall here because who knows? He could be traded by Tuesday. The Giants do have some bullpen help here. So let's throw Duvall's name into the mix for a second.
Well, and Marty, with that thought, we've concentrated so much on what to do with Blake Snell. Yeah, they're going to trade him. No, they're not. But the Giants are pretty tight-lipped generally about what they're doing. What if it's something that we're not even thinking about? What if they go big and get a first baseman, or like you said, what if they trade Duvall and what if they start packaging a Luciano with some other people and they think big about a Vlad Guerrero? I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there, but none of that is ever talked about, and that's a possibility. I would imagine. I got to believe the front office is examining all different avenues you could go. So, again, that's what makes it fun. It makes it interesting. It makes it a great conversation. The Duvall thing is hard because there is some depth in the bullpen, but is there a legitimate replacement for him? I think that's always the question. If you trade a guy, do you have somebody to take over? He has been shaky this year, but is he still the best option when the ninth inning comes? That's a decision. I still think that he probably is. I don't know who you would put out there in place of him. But no, he has not been as effective this year as he certainly was last year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's a guy you could get a lot for. So that just, throws another big question mark into what's going to happen in the next, 48 hours. But it would have to be a heavy package back, in my opinion, for them to trade him, because he is still your ninth inning guy, and you're not sure that you have a replacement for him if you did trade him.
Well, I'm thinking Orioles. That's the Phillies got their guy Estevez from the Angels, and and the Mets picked up a couple of relievers already. I'm thinking Orioles. The Orioles have got to do something. They've lost 10 of 13, and it's just the Yankees keep losing, so they're hanging. But I'm thinking Baltimore. Something's going to happen with Baltimore, so that's my thought. All right. Well, you're going to handle the show next weekend. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, you know what, Marty? I appreciate it. I know you're heading out on a well-deserved vacation, and I'm to say that I'm looking forward to putting a microphone on would be an understatement. I will do the best I can to keep your fine show running. I know Sandra G will be with me, and we're both looking forward to it. So thank you for the opportunity, and you deserve a good vacation. But I'll do my best not to drop your ratings any, okay?
All right. Thanks, Glenn. Take care. Have a
Thanks,
good
Marty.
Sunday. All right. Take care. All right. Always a pleasure, Glenn Kyper. Bruce Jenkins next right here on the Sports Leader. Bogado checked in from the Tides up in Bodega Bay, and he said that while it's been hot inland, we know that, Temperatures have been quite comfortable out on the coast, ranging from the mid-60s into the low 70s. At the Tides restaurant, patrons have a wide variety of choices, ranging from delicious seafood salads and pastas to the ever-popular fried calamari and grilled fish. If you're planning a trip to the beach, the Tides Fish Market offers a great selection of food and beverage items, perfect for picnicking, while across the hall, just go into the gift shop. They have whatever apparel you need, from swimsuits to beach towels, anything you might need for that excursion. And if you're looking to stay for a day or two just across the Highway 1, the Inn at the Tides with its large, comfortable rooms, all with a view of the bay, is waiting for you. So if you're looking to get away and escape the heat, you need to look no further than the Tides Wharf and then the Inn at the Tides in scenic Bodega Bay.
Look through the window of the original Joe's on North Beach and you'll see two guys at the counter talking ball. Time for you to listen in to their conversation. Marty Laurie and the SF Chronicles' Bruce Jenkins are looking through the window of baseball. Sponsored by Original Joe's of North Beach and Westlake on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
All right, glad to have you with us on this Sunday. Bruce Jenkins, good morning. How are you?
Good, Marty. What's going on?
Well, do the Rockies ever have to leave? Can they hang around a while?
Yeah, that was kind of a dream day for the Giants. You wonder, was it a mirage, or the Rockies really that bad? But I don't think so. My big takeaway is that it shows what's coming. I mean, the Giants have their rotation set, and they just don't hit enough with guys on. They're not a good hitting team, and they have the potential to be a great pitching team. And that's kind of where we're at, and it's why everybody's wondering what the Giants are going to do by Tuesday, and it's not an easy answer. But the bottom line is, for me, is Webb, Harrison, Snell, Ray, and Birdsong. With Hicks and Cobb, if somebody goes down, and Hicks in the bullpen, that's their key to if you want to do something this year, that's the key to it right there.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. John Shea, you alluded to it yesterday, had the column in the Chronicle today. He was I thought he was pretty direct that he thinks the Giants have got to do something.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think, for Farhan, there's a lot of pressure surrounding him this year. If they don't make the playoffs, who knows if he keeps his job. Now, that doesn't mean you have to make moves that don't make any sense, but I just think it's for the fans. The fans want to see the team do well, and they've got to do everything they can to improve it. It reaches the point though where do you really trade Snell? I mean, that's a dramatic move. He might be the best pitcher in the entire sport when he's on. I mean, how could he be any better than he was yesterday? And he's done it in the past, and he could go and take some team right into the postseason, just period, to round out their rotation. But he's here, and he can opt out next year. It's just so many maddening elements to this. But he's so good, and I just think, for me, I can't pull the trigger on trading him.
Yeah, okay. I do. I think his value is so high that I think they could fill 3 real significant spots in the offense. Look, they were 1 for 12 in the first game with runners in scoring position. And the one hit won the game. Was Bailey's hit to win the game, after the Rockies kicked the ball around. And the second game, Solaire's getting hot. Fitzgerald is still hitting home runs. And Yastrzemski's, Bruce, the guy's leading the National League in triples with 8.
He's so Willie Wilson.
Yeah, there's a little bit of offense coming. There's a little bit of, as I say, they've got a little bit, but they could use a little bit more. But I would move Snell. I just hate to see him walk at the end of the year.
Well, that's the brutal part of it, because you don't see the Giants, winning the whole thing. Getting in the playoffs would be great. Winning the whole thing is a whole different deal when you don't hit. But, the thing is, if you trade Snell, you could make one of those classic deals where you get 3 guys you never heard of who all might be great in 4 years. But that doesn't help Zaidi right now.
No, he would have to trade him for guys who are major league ready, and that's why I say the Orioles. The Orioles still have not pulled the trigger. Did they get Zach Eflin? I think they got Zach Eflin. Yeah. Zach Eflin, and then they got Sir Anthony Dominguez from the Phillies. for their bullpen, but they still haven't pulled the trigger on a legit closer and a real. They need a starting pitcher. Look, they've lost 10 of 13. The Yankees in Boston go back and forth every game. It's crazy. But the Orioles need help, but they have the beef, as they like to say. They have the minor leaguers. They have the guys who can step in tomorrow and be right up here and play. And that's the team I'd shoot for them, and I'd make a deal with them for what they want and for what I want.
That'd be really interesting. I mean, they've drafted better than anyone in recent years, and they can give you the first 4 hitters are all guys out of their draft in recent years, and some of them, Henderson and Rutschman are like all league kind of guys. So you trust what they would have in the farm system in terms of hitting. They maybe would think they'd be interested in, if they need a closer, they'd probably be looking at Doval. But Snell obviously might maybe put one of their guys into the bullpen if Snell comes in. But it's very interesting, Marty.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
it is. And they didn't do this with Rodon and Bumgarner. They held on to him and then they walked, and that was the end of it. I wouldn't do that with this guy because this is a guaranteed walk. He is going to get it.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
He's going to get a contract, so we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. It's fun. Fitzgerald is something else, though, Bruce. I mean, the guy, he gets a pitch over the plate and he doesn't miss it.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, nobody could see this coming, although he has the power. He's shown it in the bigs and especially in the minors, but, he's on this run now where it just doesn't stop, and it's pretty crucial. You kind of wait for him and Ramos to come up, and of course Yaz will hit a triple up the alley now, which is cool. But they're just not hitting well enough to fill the lineup with guys who you can rely on, and he's like a mainstay right now.
Yeah. He's carrying the ball club. But Solaire's starting to do his thing all week. He had a ton of walks all week long, and he's not chasing as much as you pointed out yesterday. So he's been doing well. Let's talk a little ball. The Phillies. Dave Dombrowski, for me, at this time of year, always does something. And he did get Estevez from the Angels and gave up a couple of good young pitchers to get him. And then he got this Austin Hayes to put in the outfield because Marsh isn't hitting. And he ended up yesterday, they pitched a kid, Tyler Phillips. So you know this story, Bruce?
It's just his fourth appearance in the bigs. He pitches a shutout.
Complete game.
Yeah. He's been around. He was a 16th round pick by Texas like 9 years ago. Right. But all of a sudden he's one of these guys who finds a pitch. Maybe 2 pitches, and all of a sudden he's been great. Just like I say, the 4th appearance in the bigs, he just pitches a shutout, which is just crazy. Austin Hayes shows up in Philly. They give him a standing ovation. They haven't seen him play yet, and it's Philly. But he singles on the first pitch he sees. Marsh homered, by the way, as did Harper and Schwarber and Castellanos. I mean, that team. They're not only really good and fun to watch, but like you say, Dombrowski he's always aggressive. He's looking to make them better. And that's his track record over the years. Wonderful executive in the game, and so good stuff happening there.
Yeah, they're not done yet because Ranger Suarez went on the injured list. So he's hurt. But they have Wheeler and Nolan and Sanchez. They still have them. But this kid grew up a Phillies fan. And the whole story. They gave him a standing ovation at the end of the game, like he pitched a no-hitter. And he's a kid from New Jersey. He's like Mike Trout, and he was a Philly fan his whole life, and now he's doing this for the Phillies. It's a good baseball moment.
Yeah, I'd give a standing ovation to anybody who pitches a complete game, as well as the manager who let him do it.
I love it. All right, the Phillies are going to be in the news the next couple of days with Dave Dombrowski. Yeah. He will not stand by, and that's a good example for Farhan. I wish Farhan would look at one of the older general managers and say, how did they do it? And be bold. It's okay. It's okay. It's actually part of the job. The Dodgers are really struggling now. The one thing about yesterday, and they got beat by Houston, Evan Phillips, Bruce, you see this? They brought him in. And look, he was the closer last year. He was the guy, and he gave up 4 hits in a row.
Yeah, well, we were talking yesterday about how terrible the Dodgers bullpen is. It's worse now. I mean, they're up 5-0. The kid Robleski's got a 5-0 lead. Ohtani hit a ball that went through a tunnel above the second deck, and all of a sudden Phillips comes in. Like I say, 4 straight singles. It's 5-0. It's now 5-4. Then Hudson comes in. Check out this sequence by Hudson: triple, single, a walk on a pitch that wasn't close, wild pitch, single, another wild pitch, hit by pitch, and now it's tied. And Bregman walks it off. That bullpen is a disgrace, Marty, and it's really killing them.
Yep,
and the lead is shrinking.
Yes, Bruce, we've been on this for 3 weeks already about the Dodgers. Yeah. And look, San Diego has won 7 straight. And
5.5 out.
And Profar, I just can't understand it. Did he make a deal with the devil? Did something happen here? Come on, is this damn Yankees? The play? Come on, Profar has just gone nuts, and Machado had a big day yesterday, and the Padres ended up beating the Orioles again, and the Padres are playing better every day.
Yeah, Michael King and Dylan Cease now. Cease, obviously is great, but Michael King had yet another great start against the Orioles yesterday. He got into the 7th inning. So, yeah, that's a formidable team. The Dodgers have got to be worried about them. And they have a good closer too, Suarez.
Suarez.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're going to do something. You know something's coming with the Padres,
oh, for
right?
Sure, yeah.
You know, with A.J. Preller. This is going to be an interesting couple of days. Arizona beats Pittsburgh yesterday, and they were down 3-0, came back and won at 4-3. Jock Peterson gets a triple. A.J. Puck pitched a clean inning. But Arizona is now starting to put it together. I'm getting that feeling like they had last year. They're starting to win again.
Yeah, you see Carroll hit a solo homer. Marte hit a bunch of homers this year. Jake McCarthy, center fielder, goes 5 for 5.
Wow.
Kind of out of nowhere. Jock, once again, just raking against right-handed pitching. I'll tell you one thing, if it really gets close at the end where one game makes a difference, they basically lost a game the other night that they wound up stealing against Kansas City. They're down 4-3 in the 9th with 1 out, and Perdomo strikes out looking. If you believe the strike zone, he was right there, strike 3. So, but the ump missed it. Meanwhile, Gurriel's running, and Salvi made a great throw. Gurriel slowed up, but the throw had him. It's a strikeout, threw him out, double play to end the game. But they didn't call the strike. Now they're both safe. The game continues, and Arizona winds up winning it. But they lost that game, and the ump took it away from them.
Wow. Yeah, they're playing better. You know, the other thing about the Giants, and as I say, they do play Arizona again. They do play the Padres again. They get the Braves again. They've got Cincinnati next weekend. They've got Washington after that. They've got some teams that they have to deal with that they're going to play again. So it's not impossible. They got the Cardinals at the end of the year as well.
Yeah, it's just going to be great. I mean, the Giants have a schedule that looks good in some ways, but it's very hard to look at a schedule and say that this is how it's going to go. You know,
I know.
The worst scheduling thing is that the Giants don't play the Dodgers again, which is just preposterous.
Yeah, look, the series against the Braves could be a big deal.
Oh, sure it will. Yeah, well, they're all going to be big.
Yeah,
every series is going to be huge.
Yeah, in a way, I wish that it was the type of baseball again where people weren't opting out. That you could say, yes, I wanted. Who in their right mind would trade Snell when you're trying to get into a playoff race?
Yeah.
But that's the nature of the game. It's a different game today, so we'll have to see how it goes. Tariq Skubal, 12-3 with the Tigers. I guess the Tigers are not going to trade him. How about that?
Is that the latest you heard on that?
Yeah, apparently they said they're not. Well, that's what they're saying now. Who knows what could happen? They're playing better ball. In fact, believe it or not, remember Javier Baez? I thought he retired
great player.
Didn't he retire 8 years ago? Is he still playing? he hit a home run again. He's hit 3 homers in a row, I think, 3 days in a row.
Yeah, he's a dynamic player. Jeez, he's always when he went to Detroit, I'm thinking, God, really, that's where you want to go. I mean, you haven't heard about him, because you don't hear about almost anything coming out of Detroit. But Skubal, geez, I mean, that guy, what a story. He's born in Hayward and raised in Fremont. He grows up idolizing Barry Zito and pitches for the A's. He's got the big curveball that Skubal wants to throw it just like that. And he talks about Zito like he's some kind of superhuman. But the family moves to Arizona. He's playing for a tiny high school with 40 kids in the senior class or something, and emerges out of that into this guy. He's 6'4", with a huge fastball. He's totally for real, and he's just mowing down people game after game. I hope he's traded, because you just don't see Detroit really doing anything at any time. I'd love to see him get in the mix.
Yep, if that would be, and look, they could get a big haul back for him because he's controllable, and so that's a big difference. Look, Ohtani's still leading the National League in hitting at 318, a rise at 308. I guess Ohtani could get the Triple Crown. In RBIs, he's trailing Ozuna 76-82. But other than that, he's going to probably win the home run race. So he's still in the Triple Crown path for us.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. I mean, Yelich was making some noise with batting average, but he's out now. Forget about him, unfortunately, with his back injury. But Arise is 10 points back of Ohtani. I'm always going to say Arise is going to win that, but, heaven knows Ohtani could win it because he could do anything. And he's going to win the home run race. I'm pretty sure of that. And 6 RBI deficit for Ozuna, that's nothing for Ohtani. So that's going to be great. Great. Yet another amazing Ohtani thing.
Yeah, and Judge, he's going to win the home run title, 37, 95 RBIs. He's going to do that.
Ahead.
But 314, he's chasing Kwan at 340 and Witt at 342. That's going to be tough.
Yeah, geez, Bobby Witt had 4 straight games with 3 hits. Wow. And all of a sudden, there he is passing Kwan, which is not easy to do, 342, and Kwan's at 340. Yeah, that's going to be tough. But that I don't think winning the homer and RBI title is what he's about, and what would make a fabulous year for him. So, geez, that's fantastic stuff. Santander's way behind him in the homers, and Ramirez way behind in the RBIs, and the Judge just keeps hitting.
It's amazing.
Doing really well at Fenway, and the series they got going on right now, wild series.
Yeah, he was on 6 times yesterday. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. Alec Boehm, 36 doubles of the Phillies. Look, he could get in the 50s, which is formidable. That could happen. And Duran, who we love, he's got 31. He leads the American League, and he's got 12 triples. So he can end up with 50 doubles, 20 triples. He could be the player, almost like a player of the year.
Those are massive numbers. Yeah, he could wind up being, the end of the year, all league selection, whatever that would be. Excuse me. But he could always run, and all of a sudden he's developed this power stroke. And he's just, like you say, doubles, triples, stolen bases, homers, and the Sox are in it. He loves the moment. The fans love it. He's a guy that has emerged out of all these names you can't quite recognize outside of Devers in the Red Sox lineup, and you start following him, and he's really worth it.
Boy, a good weekend. We've got baseball coming up. This is cool. You should be writing an article every day, Bruce.
Well, yeah, sometimes I miss being on the staff, but mostly one a week isn't so bad. I do pay attention to the game all week long, which is super fun, and that keeps me going.
I know, but this is your time of year. This is what makes you with all this stuff. So we can go on forever, but all right, we'll catch up. You'll talk to Glenn Kyper next weekend, and then I'll talk to you in a couple of weeks. All right, cool. Thanks, Bruce.
Okay.
All right, Be well. All right, that is Bruce Jenkins. All right, the kids are on the way to camp. Alana, Stella, they're on the way to Camp Tawanga, and Ev and Robin and Bonnie and Greg and Aaron, they're all taking them. And the annual trip, I used to love that, this camp send-off. I used to videotape it and make everybody crazy. So the shout-out to the kids. They're going to camp today. All right. More coming up. Steve Steinberg is next. He wrote a wonderful book. I'll hold it up on the stream. It's called Mike Donlin. He was a rough and rowdy ball player from the New York Giants, and he went to the stage and the screen. How about that? It's a good story. And Steve Steinberg and Lyle Spatz wrote it, and he is an outstanding writer. All right, more coming up right after this.
Talking baseball with Marty Laurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Just a quick note about the rooftop restaurant at the Via Hotel, the Hotel Via across the street from the park. They do a wide variety of events on the rooftop, from weddings and birthdays to corporate retreats and special events, holiday events, and any other special occasion you can think of. With stunning 360 views of the skyline, Bay Bridge, East Bay, and of course Oracle Park, the rooftop at Via is truly one of the most unique event venues in San Francisco.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys. It sound right, boys. Sound right, boys. It sound right, boy.
Everyone likes a party, but everyone loves a party at Original Joe's. With 3 private dining rooms, it's the perfect spot to hold your next big event. From christenings to corporate gatherings, we'll make your next party San Francisco special. Original Joe's, see you at the counter.
Orange and Black family, the godfather of Giants baseball now continues. This is Talkin' Baseball with Marty Laurie on KNBR, the sports leader.
Fans, it's great to have you back with us as we get ready for Giants baseball. What a pleasure to bring in Steve Steinberg. We've had Steve on the show before. He's written some terrific books with his co-author, Lyle Spatz. Let me just tell you about Steve, then I'll tell you about this book, Mike Donlin, Donlin, A Rough and Rowdy Life from New York Baseball Idol to Stage and Screen. Wow. Steve Steinberg is a baseball historian and author of Urban Shocker, silent hero of baseball's golden age, winner of the Sabre Baseball Research Award and the World Series in the deadball era. Lyle Spatz is the author of many baseball books and the co-author with Steve of The Colonel and Hug. I love this one. The partnership that transformed the New York Yankees, put out by Nebraska 2015. That won the Sabre Baseball Research Award. And 1921, the Yankees and the Giants in the battle for baseball supremacy in New York. That won the Seymour Medal, another prestigious award from Sabre. But the book is Mike Donlin. Steve Steinberg is with us. Mike Donlin, one of the great stories of baseball at the turn of the century. Steve, tell us a little bit about it.
Well, Mike Donlin is pretty much forgotten nowadays, but he's really one of the greatest hitters in the history of the game with a career batting average of .333. He was the star of the 1905 world champion Giants. He had a very complicated life, and we'll talk a little bit about it. Of all the players and personalities in baseball that Lyle and I have researched, there has been none more fascinating, more compelling, not only for his baseball life, but his life outside of baseball, than Mike Donlin.
I love it. How did he become a New York Giant? Because he was one of the great hitters in 1905. It was the Christy Mathewson 3 shutouts against the A's in that fabulous World Series. Tell us how Mike fits into that.
Well, Mike was the leading hitter on that team, and he joined the Giants in 1904 when they were the best team in baseball, but there was no World Series that year. They didn't want to play the upstart American League winners. And he had went back with John McGraw, who was the Giants manager. They were teammates on the Cardinals back in 1900. And then McGraw had an American League team in 1901, and Donlin was on that team. Donlin was a heavy drinker, and he actually ended up in prison for having a fight with an actress back in 1902, and missed most of that season. Ended up with the Cincinnati Reds in 03 and 04, and wore out his welcome there. And McGraw felt that he could control Donlin, and he really did to a great extent. And Donlin had just a sensational 1905 season for the Giants.
Well, I remember the nickname Turkey Mike Donlin. That's part of the lure of this gentleman. How does that come about?
Well, Donlin was a very cocky and guy, and he was known when he'd walk to the plate to really strut to the plate holding his bat, and it was almost like the strut of a turkey, and he became known as Turkey Mike. And he was perhaps what we would call one of the bad boys of sport back in that era. But he was beloved in New York, and I think even a lot of American youth really admired this guy for the kind of player he was and the kind of outgoing personality he had.
Well, amazing. One of the most popular athletes in America. The book is Mike Donlin. Steve Steinberg, of course, Lyle Spatz put it together. They've won so many awards. But why is he almost forgotten today? He was such a famous player. And we're going to get into the other part of his story, the theatrical part.
Yeah, it's really fascinating how impermanent fame can be. He was also a star on the 1908 team, and we know from a number of sources that he was far more popular than Christy Mathewson. And here's Mathewson, who an aura and legend is built up around him, and how famous he is. Donlin has just been forgotten. His career, basically 1908 was his last great year, although he played a little bit in 1911, 12, and 14. And, it's hard to know. We delve into that in the book a little bit, why some people, are celebrities today and they're gone tomorrow. They're forgotten. And we hope we can, with this book, bring him back, because he deserves to be remembered.
Well, great hitter, part of the really good Giant teams here. But Mabel Hite, H-I-T-E, this is where the story really gets interesting. One of the great vaudevillian actresses, she and Mike Donlin match up, and they get together. Now the story becomes fascinating.
Well, Mabel and Mike were a power couple decades before that phrase even existed, and they fell in love, and he married literally one of the most famous, if not the most famous, vaudeville actress in America, and she became a fixture at Giant games during the famous 1908 season. She was always there for cheering for him, and they really were lovebirds. It was a powerful love affair. As I think you had mentioned, maybe it's a Travis Kelce kind of
really
affair with a music superstar. But this was a big couple, and we have Will Rogers weaves in and out of our book, and long before Will Rogers was famous, he remembers their wedding being the biggest social event in New York. And when they actually opened on Broadway, we'll talk about that in a moment, he remembered 30 years later the biggest roar and cheer from the audience that he had heard in his entire career in theater.
1908 is his last year. That's a big year for the Giants. That's the Merkle game, is it not?
It sure is. And, Mike hit 356 in 1905. He hit 334 in 1908. It's interesting. He finished second in the batting race a few times. Honus Wagner beat him out in the American League with Napoleon Lajoie. And that was just a sensational pennant race. Mike was hampered late in the season with a leg injury, but he was a key figure in that race and in that game.
So what happens now to Mabel Hite and Mike Donlin? Mike Donlin, the baseball player, Mabel, the great actress. What happens in their life together, and where does it go?
Well, and after the 1908 season, they actually had a famous playwright put together a play for them, and they opened on Broadway in late October to those sensational roars. And Mabel had literally trained him for a long time, and he wanted to be with her. He loved her very much. His life had been very unstable. She actually got him to give up drinking for most of the time of their marriage. And this is hard to believe. He was one of the highest paid ball players in the game. Maybe Wagner and Mathewson were making more. I think he was making $6,000 a year. And they went on Broadway, and they were pulling down $2,000 a week.
Wow!
If you can imagine that. But and then he basically, it was a will he or won't he kind of thing in 1909 and 1910. Would he play for the Giants or would he not? And he stayed touring with her. They would go around the country, and it was they were huge, and she was huge. There's a tragic turn in her tale, because just before silent movies really exploded on the scene, she dies suddenly in 1912 of cancer, and she's not even 30 years old. So, Mike had to overcome a lot of things in his life. His father and many of his uncles, and many of his siblings died young. A lot of them were killed in his father and uncle, and I think his grandfather in railroad accidents. A lot of the Irish that immigrated were working on the railroads, and he had an awful lot to overcome and was a success, and became a success in the second venue in entertainment as well as sport.
Mike Donlin is the name of the book. You get up at the book tree in Montclair. David's got it, I'm sure. It's put out by Nebraska, and of course Steve and Lyle have won so many awards, and I'm sure you could get it at any of the usual outlets. But he comes back to baseball. Now, Mabel is not with him. She's not doing great physically, but he does come back to baseball when in 1912, right?
Yeah, he came back
1911, 1912, yeah.
He and McGraw had a very interesting relationship, and they actually, there was not that much of an age difference between him. And McGraw, on the one hand, loved Donlin's feistiness, and I think they each urged the other one on because both of them were umpire baiters and had a lot of ejections by umpires. Mike even managed to get thrown out of both games of a doubleheader that he wasn't even playing in for arguing balls and strikes. And another time, he was thrown out of a game for arguing balls and strikes when the umpire called ball 4 because he wanted to up his batting average, and he didn't want ball 4 called. He wanted a chance to hit it. So he was a character, but McGraw did trade him away as McGraw was going for a youth movement in 1911. And he traded him to a very lowly team, which was the Boston National League team at that time. And to his credit, Donlin hit over 400 in the month of September. He's now, over the age of 30. And he bounced back after, from 1908 to 1911. Did not play, but he bounced back quite well.
Wow, what a crazy story. And it's written beautifully by Steve Steinberg and Lyle Spatz. And I'll hold it up on the stream here. Mike Donlin, Turkey Mike Donlin, and ended up having a movie career as well. So they do a good job. One of the best writers out there, so I'm glad to bring it to you. All right, coming up next, Joe Sheen, who writes the best newsletter, and he's got a gaming newsletter as well. We'll find out how that's going right after this.
Talking baseball with Marty Laurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Try to do something like that.
Well, they were such a big part of the sport in those days, the Hal Chase stories and everything else. Now, if one wanted to see one of these movies, fans, I'd love to talk about Georgie Brothers Furniture. They've been in the Bay Area for over 90 years. They have that 50,000 square foot showroom. It's got over 150 wonderful carpets, window coverings, and all sorts of furniture manufacturers. Well, the big news is stressless chairs. They make high-quality, comfortable furniture, sectional sofas, love seats, single reclining chairs, as well as the famous stressless chair, which I have, in my home. Now, there's a great sale going on. It goes on till August 5th, and it's called On the Spot Summer Savings. This is very exciting. You can receive an instant rebate for $100 for every $1,000 spent. So the 10% savings is really one of the best of the summer. Stressless furniture, I'm telling you, you have to try it. It's very, very healthy, very good for you. Check out Georgie Brothers Furniture. It's in South San Francisco, but look at them online. Georgie Brothers, GIORGIBROS.com. That's GIORGIBROS.com. Remember, tell them that Marty sent you.
Giants fans, there's no better way to set the game day table than talking baseball with Marty Laurie. Marty keeps rolling on KNBR, the sports leader.
All right, the Giants go for the sweep over the Rockies today. Jordan Hicks, Austin Gomber. We welcome in Joe Sheen, joesheen.com, the best newsletter out there. Joe, how are you?
Good. Not as good as the Giants. There's nothing like an in-season minor league rehab series to get you going.
It's true. You know, they come out of Colorado. They just can't hit at all. They scored 20 runs against the Red Sox, and they come in here and they swing and miss. They can't hit it. But we did a lot of work this whole weekend on this trade deadline stuff with the Giants and Blake Snell and Tariq Skubal and Crochet and all that. I can't wait to get your take on what's going on here in baseball.
Yeah, it's odd because the Giants are actually representative of this. I'm seeing a lot of teams that are fairly close to a playoff spot and in position to make the playoffs this year, either actually being sellers like the Rays have been, or kind of being, expected to be sellers. You mentioned the Giants and Blake Snell. Talking about the Rangers possibly being sellers, talking about the Tigers. I mean, these are all teams that were within, 4, 5, 6 games of a postseason berth. Rangers within, these 4 games of the division title. And when particularly you look at this National League, Marty, as we're talking right now, the Giants are 4.5 games out of a playoff spot, but they're 5 games out of the number 4 spot because the Braves have collapsed. So right now you really have 4 teams basically tied for the 3 National League wildcard spots. So it's not like they're 4.5 games from maybe getting a road series against the division winner. The number 1 wild card is still in play for most of these teams because of the compression in the NL. So, I understand the Giants haven't played that well. They're under 500, but you look at what they've gotten from Snell. You look at what they've gotten from Robbie Ray. Roy Hobbs out there, Tyler Fitzgerald doing incredible things. I mean, to me, it's kind of endemic to how teams are run now, where a general manager, and I'm not saying this is Farhan. I don't want to hang this just on Farhan. I want to talk more generally. But GMs always seem more willing to play for next year than for the playoff spot in front of them. And I'm wondering, we expanded the playoff field to 12 teams. 40% of the league goes to the playoffs. So I don't think you can have that and also have teams not valuing going to the playoffs.
How good are the Mets and Atlanta right now? Atlanta got a big game yesterday from Schellenbach. Morton got hit hard the other day. Fried is out. How good are the Braves versus the Mets right now?
Oh, the Mets are the better team. I mean, it's not even close. And that's with the Mets having problems. Kodai Senga comes back for 1 start. He's now going to miss most of the rest of the season. They've had some issues in the bullpen. But the Braves have completely collapsed. And it's not their fault. I mean, you lose 2 of the 5 most valuable players in the National League last year, Spencer Strider and Ronald Acuna Jr. That's going to hurt you. They've also played without Michael Harris, Ozzie Albies, Max Fried. They are a shell of themselves. If you look at their lineup on any given day, you've still got Matt Olson in there. You still got Marcell Ozuna, both of whom hit homers in that win yesterday. But they don't have that depth that made their offense so good this year. I mean, last year you got Ramon Laureano, Nacho Alvarez Jr., Orlando Arcia, and Luke Williams are their 6 through 9 today. I mean, that's a waiver wire. That's not a major league contender. I'm not sure. We went from the Braves are they going to be able to hold off the Phillies to the Braves, are they going to hold on to the top wild card spot, to are the Braves going to finish over 500? You can make probably a stronger case, and I know I made this big speech about teams not trying to win, but when you look at what the Braves are going to be the rest of the year, you can make an argument that they should be looking to sell, particularly because they have Chris Sale, than they should be looking to buy. They just don't have enough Major League Baseball players right now.
Yeah, it's not their year. And I said that a few weeks ago. It's not their year. And I'm surprised the Mets are that strong. We'll see how they end up with their pitching. We'll see where that goes. All right, let's talk San Diego and Arizona. Because, look, San Diego's won 7 in a row. Profar's gone wild. Machado had a big day yesterday. Jackson Merrill, I think, is quietly, like a force in the league. And then you get Arizona. They're starting to win, and they've been playing good ball here for about 2 or 3 weeks now, and they're getting better.
They look a lot like they did down the stretch last year. They play very good defense. they're healthy. If you look at the guys who are the top 10, 12 guys coming into the season, pretty much all of them are back there. Gerardo Perdomo missed a lot of time. He's back. Alec Thomas missed a lot of time. He's back. Jock Peterson, who you're very familiar with up there in the Bay Area, he's having a fantastic season. Really, he crushed the ball. He happened to catch it the other night against the Pirates. He absolutely obliterated a ball that started a comeback to a game they won on Friday night. Gabriel Marino, talk about defense, one of the best defensive catchers in the game. They've just got a lot of things going for them, and that's still with Corbin Carroll not playing very well, although he had a big homer last night. They still haven't gotten anything out of Jordan Montgomery or Eduardo Rodriguez, two guys they signed in the offseason who were supposed to anchor that staff. Zach Gallen has looked shaky at times. They played without Merrill Kelly. So when you say, okay, what are these teams going to be over the next 2 months? Why would a team be a buyer and not a seller? I look at the Diamondbacks as a team, well, I would expect them to be better down the stretch than they've been over the last 4 months. I make a similar case for the Padres, who made a big trade today, picking up Jason Adam from the Rays. They paid a heavy price to add a reliever to that bullpen. But, the rotation's been good. Dylan Cease with a no-hitter this week. Michael King looked excellent yesterday against the Orioles. But they've got to back up that bullpen. They know down the stretch you're going to be leaning on that bullpen a lot. We'll see if they get Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove back as well. So these are teams that should be better down the stretch than they've been so far.
Boy, it's interesting. Look, Snell could be the best pitcher out there who's available. The White Sox pitcher goes today. I don't know if the White Sox will ever win another game. They've lost 13 in a row. And Skubal, is Skubal off the market? I'm trying to gauge where Snell is because I'm leading into the Orioles because they haven't made any big moves yet. And that's a team that's desperate to make moves, and they've got players that the Giants want.
The Zach Eflin trade helps them a lot because you look at a playoff series for them. Eflin probably starts the third game of a series. They pick him up from the Rays this week.
Stop. He's Zach Eflin. Stop.
He's a legitimate number 3 starter. Now, would you like to get better? To have somebody go, with Burns and Rodriguez at the front of the rotation? Absolutely. I look at Skubal. There's the one thing. You mentioned Garrett Crochet, who goes today for the White Sox. Garrett Crochet is literally thrown twice as many innings this year than he has in any other season as a professional. So there's a real question as to what he has left in the tank this year. And, of course, he came out this week and said, I really don't want to go to the bullpen. I'm not sure I'm going to pitch into the playoffs this year because he's concerned about his future. Tarek Skubal hasn't said quite those things, but you look at it, this is another pitcher who hasn't carried a heavy workload. This is the first year, it's going to be the first year, that he stays in the rotation for the entire season. If you trade for him, granted, you'll have him for a couple more years, but can you count on him to throw 225, 230 innings? You're talking about not just regular season, Marty, but for the playoffs. This isn't previous years where they were veteran starters who had pitched into and through October before. So I think that's one of the issues with Tarek Skubal's market is that you just don't know that he can pitch another 3 months. He's never done it before. So I think that's hurt his market. Also, if you're the Tigers, this is the first good news you've had. Remember, you had the first rebuild that didn't really work out. Now you're kind of into the second rebuild. But do you really want to trade Skubal and now look at another 2 to 3 years with the prospects you acquire from him? But 2014 is a long time ago. I think the Tigers can look at the AL Central, look at what they have with that core of Green, Colt Keith, who's been very good since May, Skubal. They actually have a team that can win next year. I'm not sure they want to trade Skubal. Jack Flaherty in that rotation is much more likely to be traded.
Yep, I agree with that. So where does it put Snell? Snell, to me, is a guy who can win a pennant for Houston. He can win a pennant for the Yankees. He can win a pennant for the Orioles.
See, and I don't think Blake Snell is that good. And this has been, and I've said this for years, I've never been on Blake Snell because of the type of pitcher he is. He's only going to give you 5 1/3 most nights. He does, the command is not always there. He's not somebody you can rely on to go through a lineup 3 times. So I don't think he's on that level. I think the 2 Cy Youngs, hey, let's fly forever. We'll always have those. But on a night-to-night basis, I just don't know that he's that type of thing. I would not say to you that he can win a pennant for any of these teams. I think he's a number 2 / maybe even a number 3 starter. So I'm low man on Snell. And I think what you can get from him in trade, in part because, forgive me, Marty, somebody had this week. I think it was with the Cron, talking about the way his contract is structured.
Andy Baggerly had that. Yeah, Andy.
Thank you. With the Athletic, Andy Baggerly. it's a complicated player to trade if you're the Giants. So I look at the standings. I look at 4.5 games out. They win today. Maybe they get that. Maybe that comes 3.5. I think they're better off keeping Snell and trying to win rather than recycling for next year. I don't know how much better position you're going to be in next year.
All right. He's going to opt out, so I see that coming. But, look, I'd love to keep him in a perfect world. As I said to Bruce Jenkins, I'd love to keep him and have that rotation the rest of the way because Solaire's starting to hit a little bit. Giants are more optimistic than they have been in a while. Of course, the Rockies helped that. All right, one last thought for you. St. Louis, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. Of those three, anyone have the lasting power, you think, to hang into this thing?
The Reds have underperformed by record this year. They actually have a plus run differential. Their third-order record's really good. Hunter Green went out today, pitched very well. They're a team I'd love to see buy because they have an upside that I don't think the Cardinals and Pirates have. The Cardinals have actually been outscored by a bunch this year. And their offense is just flat, built around Arenado and Goldschmidt. These kind of older players are in decline. I like the Pirates. I just don't know how much they're going to get out of Paul Skeens and Jared Jones the rest of the way. But the Reds, to me, have upside. And I'd like to see them go out and buy because I think they could be the team in that group that steals a wild card.
Very good. Well, this is going to be fun. And, look, the Dodgers haven't put anybody away yet in the division. I'll tell you that. Did
you look at their lineup today?
I didn't see it, but I know Evan Phillips gave up 4 hits in a row. And to me, if he's not the closer, they got trouble.
Right, and Trinan gave up the game-winning homer. The bullpen's been a disaster for them. Obviously, all the injuries in the rotation. But the lineup, you've got Nick Ahmed, Austin Barnes, and Kevin Biggio, who are hitting 7, 8, 9 for them. I mean, they've got to get healthy. They've got to get Betts back and Muncy back. All of these players they've been missing. They probably also have to go into the market maybe for one bat. So we'll see how they're another team that probably better over the last 2 months, but they've put the division in play in a way that I never expected them to do.
Well, I'll tell you what, I could talk to you all day. Joe Sheehan with us. The newsletter is fabulous. JoeSheehan.com, and the gaming newsletter is fun every day, almost every day to see it. I think the trade deadline should be like August 15th. It's too early.
I think every GM in baseball would agree with you, and I would go the other way. I think it's too late. I would make it, July 1st. I want teams to do their team building in the offseason and play through the season with what they did in the offseason. I would much rather see an earlier trade deadline than a late one, but all of the GMs want as much information as possible. Marty, I think you're going to win this argument. I think in the next CBA, and maybe even sooner, we're going to see the deadline pushed back to August 15th and possibly even August 31st.
Yep, I see it. It makes more sense because this is crazy now. There are just too many teams in it because you have too many playoff chances, so everybody's available. Yep. Boy, good to talk to you. Talk to you in a couple of weeks. Always good. Thanks, Joe. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Marty. Take care.
All right, that is Joe Sheehan. JoeSheehan.com. Really, really good. I always enjoy having him on. All right, well, we've got baseball coming up. Giants and Rockies coming up. Giants try to sweep the Rockies, then a day off, then it's the A's, and the Reds on the road, Washington on the road, and come back with Detroit. So there's a lot of baseball ahead. We've got a lot going on. Glenn, Kyper, and Sandra G will do the show for me next weekend. Believe it or not, I'm taking a weekend off. In 29 years, this doesn't happen very often, but they convinced me, take a weekend off and relax. All right, I will. And so I'll be back in 2 weeks. I think that's when the Giants and the Tigers play at Oracle. All right, Walter Ikabalseta coming up next with our Giants warm-up. Have a great afternoon, everybody. Enjoy it, and it is a good time to be a baseball fan. There is a lot of baseball ahead. Believe me, that's why we love the game. These next 2 months will be something. All right, more coming up on the Sports Leader.
Seam heads, start cracking those peanuts and spitting those seeds, because gloves are soon to be popping.
He makes a headlong dive and he makes the catch.
And bats are going to get cracking.
Blast one, deep right field, gone!
Welcome to KNBR's Giants Warm-Up.
Way back there, goodbye!
On the Sports Leader.
He's not running. The pitch is swung on and missed. He struck it out with a changeup. Beauty. Now that is the 13th strikeout for Blake Snell. Beautiful changeup. The other thing, though, for Snell, this will be his 103rd pitch of the afternoon. 6th inning. Runner at first. 2 down. The 0-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. He struck it out with a curveball in the dirt. 15 strikeouts for Snell in 6 innings. And a standing ovation for Snell from the crowd at Oracle Park. What a powerful, dominating performance by Snell today.
3-2 and a fastball for strike 3 called. 97 miles an hour. Out number 1. Now 5 strikeouts for Hayden Birdsong. 1 and 2 to Ryan McMahon. Birdsong comes set. Here's his pitch. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. 98 mile an hour fastball. And I think Birdsong, we were talking about it last inning, I think he's now making that adjustment. If they're just going to take all the off-speed stuff, well, go after him with fastballs.
What's up, Giants fans, and welcome to the Giants warm-up show as the Giants go for their 4-game winning streak. First time that they would reach that feat since the end of May when they were on the road against the Pittsburgh Pirates and the New York Mets. Do you believe now? Are you believing after that performance with Blake Snell and Hayden Birdsong? Or should the conversation be trade Blake Snell while his stock is at its highest, at his peak? We will discuss, but welcome to the Giants warm-up show. I'm your host, Walter Yacob, taking you all the way up to 12:05, which is the start of the official Giants pregame show. And first pitch today, no doubleheader, no double action, no 18 innings today. Just a standard Sunday baseball day in the city by the bay with 9 innings at 1:05 first pitch. It was scheduled to be Jordan Hicks, but it will no longer be Jordan Hicks, as kind of looks like the Giants are making that move to putting Jordan Hicks into the bullpen. It will be Eric Miller. Per Alex Pavlovich, he says that the Giants have been ready to move him to the bullpen. It's possible he pitches in that role today. But more on today's game in just a little bit, because we have to acknowledge what happened yesterday, the greatness of what happened yesterday in that doubleheader. 18 innings, the Giants just dominated. They almost spoiled a incredible performance, the last start of Blake Snell before the trade deadline. 15 strikeouts in 6 innings. The last time a Giants pitcher had 15 strikeouts was, you know it, Tim freaking Lincecum in 2009. So yeah, how do you feel about this team moving forward? I mean, you see the starters yesterday that combined for 23 strikeouts. That is Blake Snell with 15. And you heard it there. Hayden Birdsong went pretty good in his outing with 5 innings pitched. Needed 106 pitches to get through 5 innings, but had 8 strikeouts, no earned runs. So really solid performances from this Giants rotation. And that's the thing that we were kind of talking about yesterday, in that we wanted to see what this rotation can potentially be down the stretch of the season when you have Kyle Harrison come in and do what he did on Friday, and then you have that followed up with Blake Snell and with Hayden Birdsong. It's a little bit contagious. Can this rotation catch fire down the stretch of the season? But when you look at Blake Snell, we will discuss a little bit later. Like, is this the situation that the Giants can go ahead and sell Blake Snell and get the highest return that you can get? Because also, when you look at Alex Cobb coming back and you see what Hayden Birdsong can do and what he has done to this point, and you look at Kyle Harrison, and it's just really interesting just to see if there was a trade to come out of this going into Tuesday deadline at 3:00. If the Giants were to decide to trade Blake Snell and get some return on that, they would be okay in the rotation for the rest of this year, and then next year you figure it out. But I think that there is a possibility that Blake Snell is moved, and I think that you just have to look at what the possible return can be for Blake Snell, and if that helps you now and into the future. A lot of teams need starting pitching, and you look at Tarek Skubal. He's no longer going to be moved. That's at least what is being reported, is that the price is too high, because, I mean, granted, he has years of control. Same thing with Garrett Crochet of the White Sox. They have years of control. So the price tag is much higher than what now could be the best pitcher on the open market or on the trade market. With Blake Snell, you can get a good return. There's a lot of teams out there like the Yankees, like the Orioles, that can need starting pitching help. But we will continue to talk about that a little bit later. Yesterday, I mean, when you look at this team, when you look at what they did yesterday, Blake Snell just came out there and dealt and pitched like crazy. So did Hayden Birdsong, and that's where the success of this Giants team lies, is in that starting rotation and the timely hitting. I mean, you look at the game was pretty much tied. Like I said, Giants almost spoiled a fantastic performance from Blake Snell. Ryan Walker came in and gave up a solar homer, and game got tied. And in the 7th inning, Patrick Bailey came up huge. Giants were 0 for 10 at that point with runners in scoring position, and Patrick Bailey comes up with a 2-run double and sent the Giants into taking the lead, and they would hold that lead and end up winning game 1. But Patrick Bailey contributed, Matt Chapman contributed, Mike Yastrzemski contributed. So you start looking at all of these guys that are starting to hit, and Jorge Soler is just having a fantastic couple of weeks here that he's really starting to put it together. And I mean, you look at all the walks that this guy is getting. It's incredible. I think he has 11 walks over the last week. And that's something that was not part of his approach at the plate. So now he's being more patient and being more picky on the pitches that he's swinging at. So now you start to see what this lineup can potentially be. And when you look at the rotation, just if they're able to get hot going into this next stretch of games, and I know it's against the Rockies. I know that the Rockies are the bottom feeders of the National League, but they are still a major league club. And the fact that the Giants are starting to put together and starting to feel good about themselves, they have a interesting series against the A's coming up next on Tuesday after the trade deadline. So we'll have to see if what we see today is the last iteration of what the Giants are, if there's going to be moves, or do you continue to go forward? Do you continue to go forward with this group and see what they can be down the stretch? Because like I mentioned, you have the A's for 2 after today. Giants trying to get that 4th game in a row, something they haven't done for quite some time. The last time that they won, it seems like a long time ago. The last time that they won 3 in a row was that series against the Chicago Cubs. And that's when, I mean, it feels so long ago. You were feeling good about this Giants team at that point in the schedule when you had the Cubs, and I believe it was the Dodgers that came in after that. And then they went to Atlanta. So it was like, it was a completely different situation at that point. Yeah, it was the Cubs for 4, Dodgers for 3. They won all those series, and then they went into Atlanta and beat Atlanta. That was, it feels like such a long time ago. But do the Giants have some type of run in them, especially if you don't sell off pieces like Blake Snell? I do think that they can throw out a rotation that is serviceable down the stretch. But again, if you do trade Blake Snell, then that tells you what direction that this franchise is going, and they wouldn't necessarily be challenging for a playoff spot. But when you look at that schedule, after you go or you play the Oakland A's, and you go into the Cincinnati Reds, and that series after that, and you just keep going into what they have coming up. The schedule is favorable for the Giants. They have 4 games after their series in Cincinnati, 4 games against the Nationals. Then they have the Tigers and Atlanta. So, I mean, that's a stretch of games to where the Giants can get back to 500. That's a stretch of games to where the Giants can make some moves in the wild card standing. So how do you feel about this Giants team? I know it's the Rockies, but they have won 3 straight, going for 4 today. No Jordan Hicks on the mound today. It will be Eric Miller, but maybe you get to see Jordan Hicks come out of the bullpen, go maybe 2-3 innings, and really reach back for that velocity coming up in this one. So it's going to be a really interesting end to the series. Elliot Ramos, noticed that he is not in the lineup. I'll get you the lineup here in just a little bit, but Elliot Ramos is not in the lineup today. You got Derek Hall playing center field, batting 9th. So some guys are getting days off, but no days off for Tyler Fitzgerald. Tyler Fitzgerald's actually hitting in the 3 hole today. So that's going to be interesting. But yesterday was incredible, man. I mean, just to see what they were able to do and battle against the Colorado Rockies. And again, it all went back to Patrick Bailey. I mean, Patrick Bailey really put together a solid AB in the 7th inning where the Giants, it could have been a demoralizing loss to where you had your 1A ace pitcher on the mound with Blake Snell, and he goes out and just throws a gem, throws 15 strikeouts, and gave up just was phenomenal. Just gave up no runs in 6 innings, 15 Ks. And then you give up he gets a no decision in that. And that could have been a really demoralizing start to yesterday, but Patrick Bailey turned it all around and got that 2-run double in the 7th inning. And he pretty much breaks down what was going through his mind, broke down what his approach was in that 2-run double in the 7th inning. So here's Patrick Bailey post-game talking with the guys.
Yeah, I mean, just trying to get back to kind of where I've been hitting line drives up the middle and the other way, and was able to get a good pitch to drive and put a good swing on it, and hopefully more good things to come at the plate.
So hopefully more good things can come from the plate with Patrick Bailey. Patrick Bailey comes in the clutch yesterday in game 1, but he was one of many heroes. I mean, we've been talking about it all day, and whether he will be a Giant beyond Tuesday is the question today. Is he going to get traded? Because again, his stock is the highest that it can potentially be right now going into the trade deadline on Tuesday. So Patrick Bailey was one of the heroes, but the other hero there was Blake Snell. And Patrick Bailey pretty much talks about what makes Snell so challenging against the opposing pitcher. So this is Patrick Bailey yesterday on the postgame.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, with the kind of higher release height, that's going to create some more depth on the breaking ball, some more depth on the changeup, and then, I mean, the fastball's got plus carry as well. So, I mean, shoot, I remember facing him last year, and when he's throwing strikes and throwing the curveball for a strike, the changeup to the strike. I mean, throwing 2-0 changeups, like, you don't have a chance. Like, you go up there looking for the fastball, and you feel like you have to cheat for it, and then he throws you the changeup, and then once you get off the fastball, he's busting it in on your hands. It's just it's uncomfortable as a hitter.
Yeah, that's really what the difference is in this second half. And maybe it's just because of reps and Blake Snell is really, feeling good about it. And we'll hear from Bob Melvin in a little bit, but just talking about how Blake Snell approaches the second half of seasons, because he's managed him over the last couple of years, and he knows how it goes with Blake Snell. But when you look at the difference in how Blake Snell is so dominant, you heard it there with Patrick Bailey. He is throwing his off-speed pitches, in particular his curveball. He is throwing those for strikes. Before, they were falling out of the zone, and hitters were laying off of it because he virtually could not have thrown them for strikes. He wasn't getting it for strikes, and then that puts you in fastball counts, and guys are sitting dead red, and you can't do that in the big leagues. That's just not that's not the formula for success. So now that he's throwing his off speed, he's throwing that curveball for a strike, then you're keeping guys honest, and then you're keeping them on their toes, and they don't know what's coming. And it's just a huge difference in what you can see now with Blake Snell. He really has his full arsenal at his disposal. So just to see him moving forward, that's why this decision going into Tuesday is so hard. Because you look at Blake Snell and what he can add to this rotation, but then you also have to look at the reality of the fact that he may not be here next year. He may opt out, more likely than not opt out of his contract next year. So then do you want to go through another situation when you have a Carlos Rodon earlier in this Giants tenure for Farhan Zaidi, when you have Carlos Rodon on this team pitching the way that he was, and you didn't trade him? He ends up leaving in free agency, and you get nothing for it. Is that a situation that you want to have happen in this scenario again, where this team, are they a piece away? Are they 2 pieces away? How close are they to being contenders? That is what needs to be established. And I still feel that there is a possibility, a slight possibility in my mind, that with this pitching rotation, that with this this timely hitting of this Giants lineup, that they can be a force going into September. Then you have to see what happens with September, because when the calendar flips over into September, there is a ton of playoff teams that are going to be just coming back to back to back to back. But if you have a solid rotation, and that's, I think, what everyone is thinking about, is you go into a playoff series with Blake Snell, with Logan Webb, with Robbie Ray, I mean, you can even throw in Hayden Birdsong. Obviously, when you get into a playoff series, the rotations change up a little bit. But all I'm saying is, down the stretch, to have those five guys, Birdsong, Harrison, Ray, Webb, and Snell, that could get you into the postseason. And once you get into the postseason with the top three, Snell, Webb, and Ray, that could be a force to be reckoned with. So is that enough? Do the Giants have enough to get into the postseason and not trade Blake Snell? And is that worth the price of not getting anything in return for Blake Snell just to get into the postseason? We will have to take a look more into that. But Bob Melvin, I mean, that's why it's such a hard decision, because you look at what can be the second half of this season, or this final stretch of the season. When you look at this rotation, Bob Melvin knows what he has in his co-ace Blake Snell. When you look at the second half, and he's just hitting his stride, and it could potentially get better.
Yeah, look, he's always been kind of a second half guy. And last year when he went on a run like this, not only was it, similar to this type of stuff every night, but he was either giving up no runs or one run. And he's able to pitch out of jams. He's able to get a strikeout with a man on third. It's kind of his forte, and he's really good at it. So, when there's some traffic out there, it's really tough to take him out of a game, other than too high a pitch count, because he has the ability to pitch out of him. Cy Young Award winner last year for a reason, doing stuff like this.
Yeah, so that's the thing, is that what the back of the baseball card says. Is that enough for the Giants to not sell him? But also that could be a bargaining chip, in that if you're a playoff team and you want to make a deep run into October, this is your guy. And that's how you can get a high return for Blake Snell. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this all plays out. I would love to keep Blake Snell, but again, the reality of it is that he may only be here for the next couple of months, and he opts out next year. So we'll have to see that. But Blake Snell in game one really set the tone. Then you head into game two of yesterday, and it really got started early with the combo of Jorge Soler, who is, again, batting leadoff today. I think that has actually morphed into something, with Jorge Soler just putting together solid ABs. But it was the combo of Jorge Soler and Mike Yastrzemski. They set it up really nicely for Birdsong. Birdsong would get the lead early in the game and wouldn't look back. He pitched phenomenal. Again, 106 pitches to get through 5 innings, 8 Ks, and no earned runs. We are seeing the birth of what the future can hold for this young pitching staff when you look at Kyle Harrison, and now you include Hayden Birdsong in that conversation. And Kirk Casale was catching in that game too, and he pretty much broke down what he saw from his young pitcher, Hayden Birdsong. So this was Kirk Casale post-game talking about the rookie who just continues to dazzle on the mound.
He's not afraid of the moment, that's for sure. He came up here, from the first pitch, his debut, and he was letting it rip. He's got 4 quality pitches. I think his fastball still has some room to grow, but I think tonight was a good stepping stone in that direction. But if he's able to land his curveball, slider to get ahead, and wipe out changeup, he's got a bright future ahead of him, and we're proud to have him on our team.
Yeah, I think we're all excited what we can see from Hayden Birdsong. That's also another factor in that, because that Alex Cobb is coming back. Where would Hayden Birdsong figure into the starting rotation if and when that does happen for Alex Cobb. It sounds like it could potentially be when the Giants play Oakland on Wednesday. We'll have to see. He didn't have the greatest outing, in my opinion, but he didn't have the greatest outing in San Jose on Friday. I believe he only went 2 innings through 50 pitches, gave up, I think, 3 or 4 runs. I have to go back and look at that stat line, but that was Alex Cobb's latest rehab start in San Jose. But when he does come back and if he is slotted into the rotation, what do you do with Birdsong? And that's the question there, is that what does this team morph into going down the rest of this final 2 months? Is it a developmental team where you're trying to develop this young talent and get them the reps? Because I would love to see Hayden Birdsong stick in this rotation. I think the Giants need to keep him in the rotation. But again, it's a little crowded when Alex Cobb comes back. So is that also going to be a factor when you look at possibly moving on from Blake Snell? Again, there's a lot of factors that come into this, but Kirk Casale talking about the trade deadline. We have our mindset. I have my mindset. The YouTube chat has their mindset. Everyone is going crazy right now talking trades in the YouTube. We are live on YouTube and on Twitch. And go ahead and give me a call on the phone lines, 415-808-KNBR, 415-808-5627 on the phone line and text line. Give me your thoughts about how the Giants should go into the Tuesday trade deadline that ends at 3 o'clock local time. Kirk Casale, we heard about it yesterday with, I believe it was Tyler Fitzgerald, talking about the approach going into and the mentality of the clubhouse going into the trade deadline. Kirk Casale had his thoughts on the mindset heading into the trade deadline as well. So this was Kirk Casale yesterday after the Giants 1-2 in the doubleheader last night.
I would say a couple days ago, our heads were a little bit low, but, coming back and, coming home to Oracle, taking 3 from the Rockies, we've done what we needed to do. The rest is out of our control. That's up to the upper management, and we trust that they're, going to give us the best product to put on the field, whether that's guys that we have here or guys from outside the organization. But, we're just trying to have fun. We're trying to win baseball games because we dug ourselves a little bit of a hole, but, never say never in this game. We always have a chance.
415-808-KNBR. That's 415-808-5627. What are your thoughts on the Giants as they win 3 in a row against the Colorado Rockies, go for their 4th in a row, the first time since the end of May? I'll give you those dates really quickly if I pull it up here fast enough. I can't find it. Oh, there it is. the series at the end of May, Pittsburgh and the Mets. It was May 22nd through May 25th. That was the last time that this Giants team had a 4-game winning streak. Will they get it done again today? And how do you feel about this team going into the deadline? We want to hear your thoughts. 808-KNBR is the number. And on the text line, we are live on the YouTube and Twitch. Drop me your thoughts there in the chat, and we will discuss. Blake Snell, an incredible outing, but was that his last as a San Francisco Giant? We will discuss on the other side. You're listening to the Giants warm-up show on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
The other thing, though, for Snell, this will be his 103rd pitch of the afternoon. Sixth inning. Runner at first, 2 down. The 0-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. He struck it out with a curveball in the dirt. 15 strikeouts for Snell in 6 innings. And a standing ovation for Snell from the crowd at Oracle Park. What a powerful, dominating performance by Snell today.
It's almost time for hot dogs, peanuts, cold beers, and orange and black baseball. Our Giants warm-up rolls on the sports leader.
All right. Welcome back to the Giants warm-up show. Raph, thank you for that. Thank you for the sound to come back. The song, really. I forgot that we were playing that. Waterfalls. Don't go chasing waterfalls, Giants fans. Is this a team that could get into the postseason with Blake Snell pitching as well as he did? Do you want to hold on, or should they sell high right now and get what you can for Blake Snell and plan for 2025? We do have people on the phone lines. We'll go out to there shortly, but the YouTube chat is popping. Haruku Hitoki is saying sell. He's not buying this team. So I want to hear your thoughts in the YouTube chat and on the phone lines and the text line 415-808-5627. That's 415-808-KNBR. Give me your thoughts on the Giants, how they should approach this trade deadline. Or do they trade Blake Snell, or do you want to see what this team can be down this final 2-month stretch of the season? Let's go out to the phones and talk to Roy in San Leandro. He wants to talk about the trade deadline. Roy, what's up? Welcome to the Giants warm-up show, man.
Hey, thanks a lot, man, for taking my call. I really appreciate it. Hey, look.
Yeah, of course, man.
The reason I'm saying to go ahead on and shake, for the last 3 years, people have called in there to KNBR, and they've talked about the Giants' lack of hitting ability, leaving runners on base, no authority. They don't have no speed. They finally positioned themselves into a position where they could get some good young right players from the minor leagues, not just ground beef. I'm talking about, filet mignon from other teams that they could go ahead on and get outfielders, infielders, and even at catcher. They could go ahead on and position themselves to do it, even if it means trading Blake Snell, that guy that you alluded to, talking about moving him from the rotation to the bullpen. They could trade him. And then, since they got a good pipeline of young pitchers coming up, they position themselves in a position that's good right now, but will they utilize it? That's the point. Can they do it? What do you think?
Yeah, that's the big question, Roy. And yeah, the thing when I look, and thank you so much for the call, Roy. When you look at this team, when you look at this Giants organization, what has been the staple of winning in years past? Pitching. That's what plays here. And the Giants organization has, I think, prided themselves in putting together solid pitchers. And you look at what they have in the major leagues right now with Logan Webb. He's going to be your leader. You have Robbie Ray, who does also have an opt-out, but I think that he'll be sticking around. He's less likely to opt out next year. But you have Robbie Ray, who, okay, that's your number 2 in the rotation. Then you have Kyle Harrison, who looks incredible. And he's only 22 years old. Then you have Hayden Birdsong, another 22-year-old, and they are young in their arms. Then you factor in Alex Cobb, you factor in Carson Wisenhunt, you factor in maybe Reggie Crawford. What he ends up being, is he going to be a leverage reliever, maybe towards the back end of the bullpen, potential closer? Or are they going, because early on in his career, he was projected to be a starter. So is he going to get stretched out a little bit and be a starter? The point that I'm making here, and the point that Roy brings up is a good one, is that this team is set up for arms to come in the next couple of years. And what the Giants don't have, as outside of maybe Marco Luciano, but again, he is having defensive issues, defensive woes. So it's like, okay, is he going to be a DH? Is he going to move to corner outfield spot? Is he going to move to second base? They're still trying to figure out what they can do with Marco Luciano, because I do think that his bat does play and it is good enough. It's just the defense. Where can he play? But outside of Luciano and outside of in the early development stages of Bryce Eldridge, who else do the Giants have in this farm system that are, I think what Roy was looking to is difference makers, is guys that can come in. And when you look at trading prospects, when you look at getting a haul for Blake Snell, they don't have to necessarily be guys that are down on the rung and in AA and in single. Like you want to get guys that are ready or potentially blocked at making the jump to the big leagues. And if you are going to make a trade and you are going to look at Blake Snell and all these teams that need pitchers, I know that the Orioles went and got Zach Eflin, but it's Zach Eflin. This is Blake Snell. It is a 2-time Cy Young Award winner, and you know what he can do down the stretch of the season. And you also know what the Orioles have in their organization. Look at how they've gotten to this point. They have drafted well, and they have a lot of position players that you can get. If you can go and possibly get a Kobe Mayo out there and trade Blake Snell to Baltimore and get that in there, wouldn't you want to do that? I think that that's a point of emphasis, because the Giants don't have hitters that are locked up for a long period of time. So when you look at making trades, the Giants need to acquire controllable bats, because pitchers here are expendable, and pitchers will always, in the offseason, will always come to San Francisco. We'll go out more to the phone lines here. We got Mike. Give me your thoughts on the trade deadline and how the Giants should approach it. 415-808-5627. That's 415-808-KNBR. But we'll go out to Mike in San Francisco. My guy Mike from the YouTube chat making it over to the airwaves on KNBR. Who wants to talk about the bullpen? What's up, Mike?
Yeah, how's it going, Walt? I want to talk about the expendables.
All right.
The bullpen. It's bullpen day.
Is Camilo on that list? Is Camilo on that list? I just want to gauge.
It's a 4-player list. I'll be quick about it.
You're good.
Jelly was put on the bereavement list today, and Randy Rodriguez was just recalled. Randy, to me, has relied too heavily on his fastball lately. He's got a good slider. I mean, like 85 on average. And he throws it for strikes. He needs to mix it in there a little bit more and not rely on that fastball, in my opinion. But I'm wondering what your hopes are for each of these guys. So I'm going to stop right there.
With Randy Rodriguez?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, Randy Rodriguez, it's really interesting. I think that he's been overexposed, I think, at this point in his development process of making the jump to the big league. So I like Randy. I like what he can do, and we might see him a lot today. It's going to be really interesting to see how the Giants manage. I mean, it's essentially going to be a bullpen game today with Eric Miller on the mound, and then we might see a Jordan Hicks on there and a Randy Rodriguez. But so are you saying to trade Randy Rodriguez? Would you include him in a package of some sort, Mike?
Yeah, of course I would, but I don't want to talk about trades too much today. To be honest,
all right, no problem.
I've talked about them recently. So Ryan Walker's our second man up. He's been getting touched up for a couple of weeks now, at least. I wonder if he could be used a little bit more sparingly, with maybe Randy Rodriguez stepping into his role as setup man or high leverage man. But I think he needs a little break. What about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the bullpen arms and who has been used the most, I believe that Tyler Rogers leads the league on appearances. Then what Ryan Walker's right there. So yeah, he could be at the point to where he is being a little used a little bit too much. So yeah, if you can get guys. And I think that's why it's so crucial to have Jordan Hicks get put into that bullpen, because can he be someone that can go into high leverage situations, because that's what we've seen with Ryan Walker. And I think that if there was a possibility, and I know, Mike, you don't want to talk trades, but if there was a possibility of Camilo Doval getting traded, I think that the next guy up would potentially be Ryan Walker. I am that confident in him and in his ability. I know that he's kind of had a couple of rough outings here at this point, and I just think that comes down to the usage. But projecting out for this year and possibly next year, I do like him in high leverage situations with Ryan Walker.
He's been fantastic this year. I'll say no more. Third, Luke Jackson. Yeah, that Luke Jackson. But if have you noticed the behind his stuff lately? I mean, I think he might have turned it around mentally. He's been in attack mode.
I hope so. I hope so, Mike. I hope so. I just, every time that I see Luke Jackson come in, I'll be honest, I don't pay attention too much. I don't pay attention too much just because of how his season has gone this year. I'll just be honest.
My friend, Jordan Hicks, I'm excited to see him. Take a demotion, because he came into this season with a promise of a starter's role, and I'm hoping his velocity picks up and we get to see that 101 mile an hour heat, and I think he might be a setup man for to replace Ryan Walker for a little while, or Tyler Rogers might be going a little crazy after dealing with the Dodgers lately. And I'll leave you with that, my friend. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you on the chat.
Dude, Mike, I appreciate it, and we'll talk in the chat, and always give me a call to 10 to 2. Give me a call, Papa and Lund, dude. We'll chat it up all the time. Always appreciate Mike calling in. But yeah, dude, Jordan Hicks, it's going to be really interesting to see how they manage him. Is he going to be more of a bulk innings guy, or again a high leverage, because he's done that in the past? Well, he'll be a high leverage, because now when you shorten up his appearance, when you get him in there to maybe face the minimum of 3 batters, or go maybe 4 batters and get a stretch a little bit longer for situations, it'll be really interesting, because we've seen the velocity drop, but I do think that is because he's trying to go length. That's what he was trying to do as a starter, going into the bullpen and being a little bit more well rested. Maybe you can start seeing that triple digits again, or at least the high 90s, where we can see Jordan Hicks. And I think that makes him a kind of X factor, wild card, you name it, for the Giants bullpen going down the stretch of the season. We have more calls on the line, but we're going to take one quick break. Want to get your thoughts. We have Truth on Highway 680. I think he might be heading to the game. We'll have to find out. Truth and Coach Chad, we're going to be talking with them about the trade deadline. What do you think the Giants should do after this stretch of games against the Colorado Rockies, winning 3 straight in a row, and Blake Snell having the best performance in a Giants uniform? Should he be traded? We'll get your thoughts. 808 KNBR. That's 415-808-5627. On the other side, we do have a Giants game, by the way, later today. We're not just talking trades. We will talk about that game coming up. Eric Miller on the mound, and Austin Gomber for the Rockies. We will continue this conversation. On the other side, you're listening to the Giants warm-up show on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Now back to the show built for the orange and black family. This is Giants Warm Up on KNBR, the sports leader.
All right, welcome back to the Giants warm-up show as we get you ready for Game 4 of this 4-game series. Giants going for that 4-game sweep, their first 4-game winning streak since the end of May with the Pirates and the Mets. And we've been talking a lot about the trade deadline and what you want this Giants team to do if this stretch of games against the Colorado Rockies has swayed you one way or the other. That performance by Blake Snell yesterday, does that make you want to keep him or make you want to trade him? So we will get out to the phone lines here, and we will go out to Truth on Highway 680. Truth, are you okay, man? Are you driving right now?
I'm driving, but I'm hands-free. We're all good.
All right, sweet, man. That's I love to hear that. I love to hear that. What's up, man? Welcome to the Giants
Appreciate
warm-up
you
show.
checking in. Thank you. I have a couple of points I want to string together, and kind of just starting with how humorous I think the universe can be, because a lot of this has to do with timing and not having enough, sample data to really make the most informed decision as the Giants. But, right. Conventional logic would be you have to get a team that is this many teams between them and the third wild card, the inconsistency, whatever kind of value propositions you can get for your veterans, whether that's Snell or relief pitchers or whoever. You should make those trades if they exist. But this isn't a conventional situation. I think if you're looking at that clubhouse, the fan base, Farhan, the whole picture, it is just setting a loser's mentality. If the whole premise you've sold us is that once we get this starting rotation intact, you're looking at one of, if not the best starting rotation in Major League Baseball. And I don't think that's being sensationalist to say that. And now we're getting to actually see that play itself out, even with a very suspect, offensive team. And you've got to think, like you made the point earlier, if they can sneak in there, this team is somebody they do not want to face. None of these contenders want to run into this Giants pitching staff. So I don't see how you finally get Snell and you've got Ray looking as good as he did, and the young arms and just the whole picture developing. And there's no such thing as having too crowded of a rotation. If you have Cobb or Hicks or these people moving, or Harrison moving in the bullpens, that's a wonderful position to be in. So there's no way the Giants can be sellers right now unless they are just waving the white flag on the whole franchise. And you're saying, all right, we're actually looking at another 2-3 year build down the road, which has not at all been the messaging. It's been like this slow creep, stack the front end rotation. And now you have it, and you're actually going to start making moves. I mean, it only takes like one streak of, a 5, 6, 7, 8 game win streak, and you're right back in it, as we're seeing right now, right? So I normally would be like, you got to sell. You can't do that. You can't do that to the players you're keeping long-term in the clubhouse. You can't do that to Melvin. You can't do it to the fan base. And in reality, Farhan's probably gone if he turns into a seller anyway. So I don't see any they should be leveraging other teams to be getting better, because also the trends have changed. Teams do not give up top prospects for established major leaguers, and what the Giants need is established major leaguers. They need to go to bottom-feeding teams, trying to cut payroll, take regular, consistent major league offensive players, add them to the team for our marginal prospects. That's the only path that I can see happening. I mean, obviously, if something gets prevented for Snell where you just can't, you're like, oh my, something overwhelming, or so be it, you have to entertain that because they do have the depth. But in general, the mentality should be win now and get better this year and going into next year. For me,
Truth, if you were to trade Blake Snell and get a controllable bat for the next few years, would that be enough to entice you to offer up Blake Snell and pull the trigger on that?
Yeah, I get it. I'd say that bat needs to be a consistent 800-plus OPS, 450-plus slugging player that's going to play 150 games. What team is trading that right now? You find that for me, and we'll do it. I just don't see that happening. And even then, you've got to wonder, I mean, only Snell because of his contractual. I think also Farhan made some really strange decisions on when these options exist. To get Ray to come back, to give up not that it's worked out so far because we really didn't lose, but the concept is really flawed. If Ray performs well and opts out, right, and comes back at the end of the year, or he's not that good and now you're stuck with him overpaying, and Snell's kind of in the same situation. But they are performing. We've got this little window. Give us some hope. I just don't think you can send that losing culture mentality to those players. And then why would you expect a Chapman or a Soler or these other people to continue, the people they did bring in who have underperformed, to like have any kind of like juice that they're building off of? I mean, I think, yeah, you deal Snell if you're looking at not a what if, a what is, and that player better be producing at a plus 800 OPS, not like once or twice. Like that's who they are, you know.
Right,
and I don't see that existing in the market. So
Truth. Love the call, man. Call back anytime. A lot of great points on that. And yeah, it does kind of go to what is the messaging for this Giants team moving forward. You would like to see them go for it. I would like to see this team, especially with what Truth was saying there and what we've been discussing for today and yesterday and weeks on weeks when we were waiting for this rotation to get to where its full potential is. I think that we're starting to see a little bit of what it can potentially do. So when you get this team, maybe they get rolling and maybe they sneak into the playoffs and maybe, just maybe, something can happen. I don't know. But we have Coach Chad out in Chile. He wants to talk about the Giants trade deadline, what they should do going into it. We got Coach Chad in Chile. What's up, Chad? Welcome to the Giants warm-up show.
Buenos tardes, man. Buenos tardes, man. Hey, thanks for having me. And you and Giant fans, you have to sell. And I'll tell you why. Okay. You have to sell because you have leverage right now in this market. This is a seller's market. When was the last time the Giants had guys that other teams wanted at this time? And why I say that? Because Snell is an enigma. We saw that earlier in the year. I love the guy. I knew him down in San Diego, man, when he was with the Padres. And let me tell you, he's a great guy, but he's an enigma. He goes up and down. You have Robbie Ray, came back for one start. His value is elevated, okay? So you have these guys that right now have opt-outs, and that is the co-op here, okay? The opt-out is the killer. And the last caller very eloquently put it, that Farhan put this in here. He kind of hamstrung himself. But the point is this. If you don't sell now, how are you going to get younger and athletic? I mean, how many more Fitzgeralds, Wiseleys? I don't see many in the system. Luciano hasn't panned out yet. So, I mean, this team is not athletic to me as a baseball man, as an international scout down here, looking for young talent to get chances in the U.S. I'll tell you, this is their chance to get young and athletic. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and that's a great point, Coach Chad. Really appreciate it. And when you look at what this team can do, what they can add, I think what you want as a return is, yes, to get younger, to get athletic, and controllable bats. Because, again, pitching will always come to San Francisco. Pitching will always come to Oracle Park. And it's really interesting when you look at this team and what they can potentially be. And when you look at where they currently stand at the wild card standings, and that's where we go to our standings update sponsored by Alameda County Probation Department. Visit joinacpd.org today for a career that matters. This 3-game winning streak potentially going on 4. It puts the Giants right in the middle of things. They are 4.5 games back of that third wild card spot. Is that enough to make the Giants not be sellers and have them just kind of go into this 2-month period and try to go for it and get into that postseason? Because with the rotation of Snell, of Webb, of Ray, Harrison, I mean, anything could happen when you get into the postseason. So we will continue to discuss Giants baseball coming up next. They go for their 4th win in a row against the Colorado Rockies. Eric Miller and Austin Gomber on the mound. We will talk with John Miller as the pregame show is about to get underway. We'll talk to you then. This is it for the Giants warm-up show. Giants pregame show coming up next.